It's New England on a lovely summer's afternoon. Blue skies, bright sun, light breeze blowing from right to left. And just as ominous looking as ever is the left field wall, the green monster, made even more so by the presence of the great home run hitting duo Jose Canseco, leading the major leagues with 32 home runs. Teammate Mark McGwire right behind him with 24. The A's have hit 122 home runs. But the Sox are not any slouches. Mike Greenwell has hit 19. Followed by Dwight Evans, who has hit 337 in his career. And how about Jim Rice? 373 home runs in his glorious career with Boston. And old Sox players remember the magic. Don Baylor remembered where the monster was last night. And Dave Henderson, he knows exactly where the bullpen is. Put it all together, 213 home runs on display at Fenway Park in Boston as the Red Sox host the Oakland A's.
National Broadcasting Company. Now in its 7th decade of bringing you baseball's memories. Baseball's milestones. Baseball's majesty. And baseball's magical moments. NBC Sports proudly presents the Major League Baseball Game of the Week. Today from Fenway Park, it's the Oakland Athletics versus the Boston Red Sox. The Game of the Week is brought to you by Buick and your Buick dealer. The Great American Road belongs to Buick. By Miller Brewing Company, sole sponsor of the U.S. Olympic Training Centers. And by Mr. Goodwrench. No one knows your GM car better than Mr. Goodwrench. No one.
Hi, everybody. I'm Vin Scully, along with Joe Garagiola, and welcome to Fenway Park in Boston, the home of the Boston Red Sox, who find themselves 3 games behind the division-leading Detroit Tigers and 1 game in front of the third-place New York Yankees. Years ago, Gertrude Stein wrote about Oakland, there's no there, but there is a there. It's the Oakland Coliseum, the home of the first-place Oakland A's, who are 8 games in front of Minnesota and who have won more games than any other team in the Major League. Is there more to the Oakland A's than Jose Canseco and Mark McGwire? Well, Joe decided to find out and visits with manager Tony La Russa.
The known story, the told story, is Canseco, McGwire, and pitching. Is there an untold story with your ball club?
Definitely, Joe. I think the defense is something that nobody's talked about at all. And you look at how we've played defense all year long, and you don't win unless you catch the ball behind good pitching and you don't give clubs extra outs. The first and third baseman, Carney and Mark, outstanding defensively. Our middle of the infield, Walter Weiss, has just been, wait till you see him, he's just outstanding in the middle. The second basemen, Gallego, Hubbard, are great. Canseco in right field, Henderson in center field. The catching's been good. Defense is a story.
You mentioned Henderson. When you had Lansford on the disabled list and are not hitting, and Parker on the disabled list, he came along. He's been the most pleasant surprise to you. Has to be, is he?
I think in the sense of really giving us winning performance. We had an idea about his ability, but the way he's been able to rise to the occasion, Joe, when our offense has been down a little bit or missing a Parker or somebody, he's been able to get the big hit with men on base and support. You know, Jose can't do it by himself or Mark, and he's really good.
What did you see in him that the other clubs let him go?
Well, he'd always played good against Chicago, so we knew his ability. But the key thing I think we had was we had Renee Latchman on the staff and Dave Duncan, who both had him in Seattle. Latch had him here in Boston, and they knew the type of person that he was, so they really spoke up for him. And when he came over, I just said, hey, the sky's the limit here. You as good as you play, that's as much as you play.
Good luck to you today, Tony.
Hope we give you a good game.
You will.
So just as there's so much more to the Boston Red Sox than Wade Boggs and Mike Greenwell and Dwight Evans and Jim Rice, so there's a great deal more to the Oakland A's than Jose Canseco and Mark McGwire. We'll put it all on the display table for all of us to take a look at. We'll have the starting lineups, the pregame stats and stories, all coming up right after this. Fenway Park in Boston, a capacity crowd, light gray sky, temperature in the 70s, a very, very comfortable day. And the story, Dennis Oil Can Boyd, who was on the disabled list as of the 29th of July, made his last start July the 26th. He went out with a sore right shoulder, and his pitching coach, Bill Fisher, trying to help him loosen up that right shoulder down in the bullpen a few minutes ago. He had a clot in the front of that shoulder. It was dissolved. He was on the 21-day disabled list and activated after last night's game. It's interesting, we all know that the Red Sox were 19-1 with that great burst. It was Oil Can who started the game they lost. It was against Texas. He was not involved in the decision on the 26th. He gave up 5 runs in 3 innings. The Sox went on to tie, but eventually lose it 9-8. Now we'll see who he will be trying to get out today, and a formidable lineup it is with a team that has won more games than any other team in the majors. Luis Polonia in left field, and Dave Henderson will be in center. Jose Canseco will be in right field, and Mark McGuire at first base. Don Baylor will be the DH. Carney Lansford will be at third base. Ron Hussey will be the catcher. It'll be Glenn Hubbard at second base, and Walt Weiss will be the shortstop. Boyd with the second highest earned run average. Willie Frazier a little bit higher, a little more than 5.5, and Oil Can is just a little less than 5.5. With his 8-7 record, you can break him down undefeated in the daytime, 3-0, 5-7 at night. He is pretty much the same, 4-2 at home, and he's had some bad games on the road to put his record at 4-5.
If he's got his good stuff, Vin, we're going to see a pretty good overhand curveball. Dave Henderson was talking about it, and you're going to see a good high fastball. And to left-hand hitters, he kind of turns it over a little bit and throws a cut fastball. They don't expect him to go more than 5 innings is what they're talking about here, but of course the Oakland A's will have something to say about how long he stays out there.
Indeed they will. He has only one complete game anyway this year, and that was back in June against the Yankees. And despite the complete game effort, the Sox lost that game 4-3. For some of the Oakland A's, it's kind of like a reunion because coaches Rene Latchman and Bob Watson played here, and players Dennis Eckersley, Dave Henderson, Carney Lansford, and Don Baylor also were Red Sox.
Vin, if Polonia hits 350, he'll let everybody be wearing pants like that.
Look at that. I would think that's really making it tough for the umpire, and he has no way to scream about a borderline pitch at the knees. Strike. Polonia last night had a double, a triple, and a home run, but he's outdoing Ted Williams.
Yes, he is. I've never seen anybody wear him that low before. I mean, I don't know what the reason is, but there they are.
Any lower would be stirrups, I guess. 1 ball and 1 strike to the leadoff man, Luis Polonia. Interestingly enough, with that double, triple, and home run last night, he only had 7 extra base hits prior to last night's game.
Dave Parker was really raving about Polonia, called him one of the most exciting young players he's ever seen. And he said last night he was Babe Ruth in it, and he really was. He was hitting them all over the place.
And, of course, when you talk about Polonia and Babe Ruth, you immediately think about his size. He's only 5'8" and 155 pounds. 2-1. 3-1. A pretty good layoff for the Can to try and come back, not having pitched since the 26th of July. Here we are, the 20th of August. 3-2. Prior to that game on July 26th, on the 21st, Boyd retired the first 19 batters he faced. In fact, he allowed just 1 hit in 7 innings and went on to beat the White Sox 6-1. One of his problems this year, the home run ball. He's given up 22, and 9 of those home runs have come to a leadoff hitter.
Shades of Mark Fidrich right there as he talks to himself, try to keep that concentration up.
3-2. Talking about his concentration, his 14-month-old son has not been well, and that has really bothered him and given him a lot of other thoughts to think about besides baseball.
He went home early last night. He said on that first one, he says, you really worry a lot.
3-2. Ball 4, just missing inside. John Shulock is the plate umpire, with Dale Ford, Johnson, and Riley working out on the line. So with Polonio aboard with the walk, the batter will be Dave Henderson, who hit one out into the right center field bullpen last night.
When you say hit one out, really brings the point home. What other ball club has really fourth-place hitters hitting second like Henderson, followed by Canseco, McGuire, Baylor, Lansford? I mean, all game breakers, those guys.
As you saw, he has 19 home runs, and it's interesting to note that Oakland was 18-0 in games when Dave Henderson homered. He hit one last night and they lost. First time this year they lost a game where he had hit a home run.
Polonia really getting a big lead. You would think with the short porch in left field, they're going to let Henderson swing and maybe pick up 2 runs, but he's been getting a big lead and drawing that throw.
He's stolen 14 out of 19, so he's trying to put a little extra heat on Boyd. That was an interesting move. You watched Dennis Boyd that time. He came set, and he looked back at second. And needless to say, there is no runner at second.
More interesting was Dave Henderson trying to bunt for the base hit. There he goes. He looks, and you saw what Ben was talking about. Look at this. How about that? First inning.
And immediately Boggs up a step at third, and of course Benzinger holding a corner on Polonia. Looking at Henderson's numbers as we concentrate on Boyd, Henderson has sacrificed 4 times this year despite those 19 home runs. Strike. 0-2. No balls and 2 strikes. The count to Dave Henderson. This is the 8th meeting of the year between the 2 clubs. Oakland has won 5 out of 7. 1-2.
He's not thrown that good curveball yet. He's been throwing the cut fastball, and he's been turning it over, but he has not thrown that good curveball yet. He's got a lot of pitches. He's got a good live arm.
Polonia at first. No score, just the start of the ball game, so pull up a chair and spend part of the day with us. Henderson, Canseco, and McGuire.
He really gives him a good look over there. I mean, he peers. Watch him. He gives him a good look. Even before he comes set. There he goes to second.
Yeah. There goes Polonia, and the pitch is lifted foul off to the right and out of play. He might be the only pitcher I've ever seen who looks to an unoccupied base.
Well, it may be that he might be trying to bait the runner into the first move that he makes. The runner will break, and that being the move to second base with the head. I mean, he's not really watching now. He's looking at first now. He's looking at the runner. Look, there he goes. Look.
I don't understand that.
Well, actually, he's looking over the right shoulder, checking the runner from that side, too, Vin.
That'd be too late.
It would be if he took off, but watch him. He doesn't really stop at second base. He looks from both shoulders.
I'm sure to the people in Boston who have seen him pitch a great deal, it's nothing new, but to someone who just comes in to see him, it's a little shocking. 2-2. Now, he didn't do it that time and threw a breaking ball. I'm just wondering if he doesn't tip off his pitches. Let's see.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing you'd catalog. You'd watch that. That's the first curveball he's thrown, and he didn't do it. But, of course, what do you do when nobody's on base? But that's the kind of thing you look for. say one thing, he checks those runners closely.
And they're letting him pitch with a chain, which is another surprise. Ball 3.
They made him take it off. I think it was when Billy was managing the Yankees, they made him take it off.
Well, I've never seen a pitcher get away with it this year. It would appear every pitcher who has ever gone out to the mound has been forced to take that chain off. In fact, we've had so many delays in the course of a year, there have been suggestions maybe we should have a metal detector in the dugout so they can't take the field while they're wearing it.
I'll tell you what's going to determine it more. He's getting 3 and 2 on the first 2 hitters, and if that's going to be the way he's going to go, he will not be around here very long.
Well, we'll watch Polonia now with his 14 stolen bases. See if they're going to play run and hit. People are always asking about hit and run and hit. The simple thing is, hit and run, the hitter is obligated to swing. Run and hit is with a 3-ball count, and naturally he doesn't have to swing at ball 4.
A lot of hitters just can't keep it back, though. There's some hitters they don't put the play on because as soon as they see the runner break,
they're going to swing. Yeah.
You need a disciplined hitter up there. This is a big pitch. He may get a strikeout, throw him out here, and get a double play, or big inning started.
Henderson hitting high up in the Oakland lineup in the number 2 slot. And there goes Polonia, and a big chopper to third. Boggs will throw him out. Polonia advancing to second, so on the 3-2 count, they lose a possible double play ball. 1 down, Polonia at second base, and now you're really in the deep waters. A couple of sharks with Jose Canseco and Mark McGuire. They're the best home run duo in the majors. Canseco leading with 32.
Those 2 guys behind him not too bad either, Baylor and Lansford, so you're really in some shark-infested waters.
122 home runs for Oakland.
Talk about chains, look at Canseco.
Yep, right. If they ever got into a collision with Boyd, you'd need a welder to get them untied.
You really would. Lose that chain and go 0 for 4, and there goes the gold standard.
He's...
Huh.
That's Lon Simmons. My mic's dead.
No, I hear you.
I was listening to Lon Simmons do the ball game back to Oakland on radio.
Same game?
Same game, so we got a little problem here.
Yeah, I know you.
And he's an old buddy, so I recognized him right away.
I know. You looked at me, you went, what?
Well, that's not you, that's Lon. 0-1 the count. Jose Canseco, oil can Boyd working with Polonia at second. 1 out in the first inning, no score. Boyd, remember, walked Polonia, went 3 and 2 to Henderson.
Tell you, this fella hits home runs that just other players talk about. Canseco. Hubbard, I was talking to him about comparing him with Murphy.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I'm listening to Lon.
Well, I'll go up with Lon.
1 ball and 1 strike to count to Canseco. Fouled away. 1 and 2.
He's got a compact swing, but the size of him. And when you look at him, and he talks about hitting 40 home runs and stealing 40 bases, you have to believe him.
Among other things, with his 32 home runs, he leads the major leagues in home runs on the road. He is 21. But he was not the earliest player in history to join the 30-30 club. Eric Davis did it on August 2nd last year. Bobby Bonds did it 15 years ago on August 5th. 1 and 2. Got him looking.
That was the curveball I talked about right there.
Big overhand curveball. Got him looking. 2 down. Boy, the can really broke off a dandy on that pitch.
When you have the kind of fastball that he has, and then you throw this pitch, there's not much you can do but just watch it. Look at it break. Now, tell me that's an optical illusion. Oh, that's the kind, as a kid on the playground, you said, boy, he's got a good drop.
But he's not out of the woods yet. There's another giant redwood at the plate, Mark McGuire, with his 24 home runs, 78 runs batted in. Polonia at second, 2 down, first inning, no score.
know, one of the things I used to always look at with big sluggers was their grip. Now, Henderson, when he was up, it was about an inch from the bottom. Canseco was maybe about a quarter of an inch. He actually has that little finger off the end of the bat. I mean, there you see it. That was a good shot of it. The little finger is off the bat. He's way down at the end. If he gets a little lower, he'll have a handful of knuckles.
0-1 the count. Very tough with runners in scoring position. In fact, hitting .333. He's a sizable challenge for Elkan Boyd. Interesting thing, too, about Mark McGwire, I was looking it up. In the first 12 games this year, he was hit by pitches 3 times. He has not been hit since, for whatever reason. Going to the bag to handle a throw is Marty Barrett.
They have been working with McGwire because one of the things, he's got that little lift to his swing, but when he tries to hit a home run, he just loses it. In fact, in batting practice, Jim Lefevre wants him to hit down. When he hits the line drive to ground ball, his on-base percentage is .500, and he hits fly balls, it's about 130. They've been keeping track of that. They just want him to hit down on the ball and let his natural swing take over.
0-1 the count. You can understand when you talk about his natural swing. He got into a groove in Cleveland in late June, and he had 5 home runs in 2 games. In fact, he scored a run on 9 consecutive at-bats. He's quite a talent.
He really is. The first thing I noticed about him is his head. He's looking directly at the pitcher. Both eyes. Look at it. Straight on.
1-1. And it looked like Can took a little bit off that, and McGwire was way out in front.
Not only takes something off in, he sidearmed him. So the can come from about 3 different positions, and then he can give you about 5 different pitches.
So after striking out Canseco on a 1-2 big overhand curveball, we'll see now how he pitches McGwire 1-2. Canseco, remember, caught looking. Fastball and a high drive to left. Greenwell at the base of the scoreboard. It is high off the scoreboard. Hits him and goes backwards. A run is in on a double by Mark McGwire. So after getting Canseco on a 1-2 curve, he tried to get McGwire with the fastball, and he doubled.
I got to believe he was using that pitch to set up the 2-2. You can see he's a bit disgusted with himself. And I imagine on a couple of scores, he was going to go 2-2. Look where Gedman is, and he gets it right over the plate. He missed the wrong way. If you're going to miss, you got to miss outside. He missed towards the plate, and he sees that Greenwell's got room until he gets up against that wall, and that prevents him from going back any further. So the wall really hurt him that time.
So the run is in, and now Don Baylor, who hit a home run last night, checks in. With the A's leading 1-0, Barrett to the bag, but no throw.
And with 2 outs, there was nothing that Polonia could do but just kind of jawing around there. I mean, he didn't have to wait. It was easy for him to score.
Boyd, who has made 22 pitches this inning and began the game with a walk, then went 3-2 to Henderson. If he doesn't go 3-2 to Henderson, he might have been out of the inning, because Henderson hit what otherwise would have been a double play ball. That's a strike.
A lot of pitches, 23.
Oh, yes. And for somebody who doesn't expect to be around very long anyway, maybe 5 innings, he's in a hole at the outset. Baylor, another tough hombre, hitting .342 with men in scoring position. 0-1 to Don. One ball and 1 strike. If you joined us a little late, Polonia walked. They went 3-2 on Henderson. Polonia was going, so Henderson's 1 hopper to Boggs, but Morgan was deprived of the double play. Polonia into second. Canseco struck out looking. McGwire hit a 1-2 fastball off the scoreboard, and it's 1-0 in favor of Oakland. Two and 1.
You know, watching Gedman behind the plate, he's been outside on all the power hitters. I'm talking about with Henderson, Canseco, and McGwire. And the last 2 pitches to Baylor, he's just been right over the center of the plate, maybe leaning a little bit inside.
Gedman trying to nurse him along. A very tough first inning for Oil Can. And Baylor backed up by Carney Lansford.
Now he went outside.
High pop fly off third. Wade Boggs in foul ground. That'll be that. 1 run, 1 hit, 1 left. And it was one tough inning for Oil Can Boyd. At the end of half an inning, the A's won, and the Red Sox coming up. Any way you can interpret Oil Can Boyd's displeasure, you might just sum it up. 26 pitches in the first inning. Wade Boggs, Marty Barrett, and then Dwight Evans against the young Todd Burns. Strike, 0-1.
Ben, there's an amazing statistic. With that pitch, Boggs has seen 2,268 pitches, and he swung and missed just 26.
Breaking ball miss. Remember last week we had him not only swinging and missing, we had him striking out.
He has seen 437 more pitches than the next closest Red Sox. Can you imagine that?
And he promptly bangs that pitch into left field. So Wade Boggs, who just keeps on getting on base, give you another number about Wade. He has only failed to get on base by a hit or a walk in 9 games this year. That's out of 118 games. That's better than 91%. The last 6 years, he has reached 91% of the time. I mean, he is awesome.
In contrast to the Oakland lineup, when they got Henderson, who can hit the ball out of the ballpark, Marty Barrett, to me, is the ideal second man because he uses the entire field, really spreads them, makes contact. You can put plays on.
You remember Marty was in a bad slump, so last weekend they sat him down, and since he has come back, 8 for 17, a 4-game hitting streak, and looking more like the Marty Barrett of old.
Well, last night, I tell you, watching him hit, it was like a concert. He got one pitch inside, he turned on and hit it down the left field line for a double. He's just a good ball player.
2 balls and no strikes. So Todd Burns, a rookie who was a non-roster player, he's from Maywood, California, 5-0, 3-0 at home, where he has an earned run average of a little more than 1.5, 2-0 on the road, but his ERA is up over 5. He's an occasional starter, also a reliever, and no record against Boston. And he's behind now, 3-0. We have another key stat on Burns. We're talking about him 5-0, and the only rookie above 500 in the majors, and he's perfect. Todd Burns. And he missed again, and now he's really in trouble. Runners at first and second, nobody out, with Evans, Greenwell, and Burks coming out.
24, White Evans.
You know, an interesting thing, this is an ideal combination. You have the A's, a great team and a great road team, against the Red Sox, who are the best home team. And when you come here to Fenway Park, you know that the Sox are very, very strong at home. It might come as a surprise to you that they have been out-homered at home. You always figure the home run is always in their favor, but it's not. They've been out-homered 60-53 here at Fenway Park. But oh, do their hitters love it here. 10 of the 14 position players on the Red Sox are hitting over 300 at home. So Todd Burns has his hands full now. 2 on, nobody out, a strike to Dewey Evans.
I think of all the guys I watch take batting practice as we do these games of the week, man, this fella, Evans, concentrates more on what he has to do than anybody I've seen. He is really no nonsense when he walks on the field.
One particular reason, I guess, why he's lasted so long, 17 years, that great concentration. Little fly ball to right field. Canseco had trouble picking it off, but now he comes up to handle it. So Evans a fly ball to right, 1 down, and Mike Greenwell with a 4-game hitting streak coming out.
Greenwell, and talking to him before the game, and you really got to like this youngster. His numbers tell you the whole story. And look at that, 19 home runs, 96 RBIs, 340. He said the first spring training camp he went to, Ted Williams said to him, "You're going to make it to the big leagues as a hitter." And he said, "Mr. Williams, how could you be so sure?" He said, "I watched you in batting practice, and if a young player can hit 9 out of 10 balls hard in batting practice, that tells me the story." And I was using that as an experiment today, and it does tell the story.
Boy, he is some story here. Ball one, 1-0 to Mike Greenwell. Among other things, with that 4-game hitting streak, he's like Boggs. He gets on base, hit or walk in almost all of his games. He's only missed 9 games, and he is downright murder here. He's hit 11 home runs at Fenway, and he has a .347 average here.
And he doesn't mind widening that strike zone and knock in the run. I mean, he's got a good idea of the strike zone, but he knows that if he has to knock him in by widening, he will.
One of the little individual battles within the war in this series is Mike Greenwell and Jose Canseco battling it out for RBI leads, and Mike has 96, Jose has 94.
Just wonder if Morgan's going to give him a chance here. There's Canseco.
3-0. And he has walked in to load the bases.
Well, last night, Dave Stewart got in trouble that way. That's what cost him the ball game, and here we are.
So Tony La Russa sees his young right-hander Todd Burns load him up. And Ellis Burks will be the batter. Ellis Burks has hit in 4 out of 5, and he's another dynamite hitter here at Fenway. He's hitting .346 with 6 home runs. He has 2 grand slams this year. So Burke's up there with a spot to really hurt you. Boggs, Barrett, and Greenwell out on the line. 1 away in the first inning, and the Sox trying to get back after Oakland scored 1. Good breaking ball, 0-1. One other thing, there is pressure on the Red Sox to win, especially when they are home, because they're running out. They have 17 home games left after today and 23 on the road, and they are not a good road club. So if they're going to do it, they'd better do it right here. 1 ball, 1 strike to count. Burke's part of a machine that is #1 in the league in runs scored, and it's the Boston area code right now, 617, but they're going to change it because that's in the gap and up to the wall. Boggs will score. Barrett will score. They will hold Greenwell at third on a double by Burke. 2-1 Boston.
I'll tell you, Greenwell had ideas of coming around. He was running so hard that when they put the brakes on him, his feet went out from under him, and he had to scamper back. He had all intentions of scoring.
So with runners at second and third, 1 out and 2 in, the Red Sox leading the A's 2-1. And the batter is Todd Benzinger. Benzinger struggling a little bit. He's 0 for 10. Ball 1. However, he's found a lot of people on base in the last month, and he has 28 RBIs in his last 30 games. A lot of his power, almost all of his power, is from this side of the plate. He's a switch hitter.
Surprised no one is going out to talk to him. I see Hassey's going out there now just to settle him down, because there's not even a consistency in his wildness. He's been high, he's been outside, he's been low, he's just been all over the place. Dave Duncan talking to La Russa as Hassey talks to Burns, and there's not much you can do. I mean, spots like that, you probably want to end up lighting candles to help him.
Todd Burns, 25 years old, and he's been pitching professionally since 1984. He was a non-roster player, invited to spring training, made the club, and he's in a lot of trouble now. 2-1.
He's made 19 pitches, 7 of them strikes.
Burns undefeated, but he's losing 2-1 here in the first inning. And that's lifted to left field. Polonia right on the track at the base of the wall. It's going to be off the wall, and 2 runs will score on a double by Benzinger. 4-1 Boston.
And one of the things you have to watch here as a base runner is what Burks did. He saw when Polonia turned to play it off the wall, he was right behind Greenwell. I mean, directly behind him, and you have to be careful that you don't pass him. But as soon as Polonia turned, boy, he came.
One thing the hitters all did was to check the flag in center field, and there is a pretty good breeze blowing from right to left, and I think it blew that ball right up on the wall. So he had Boggs single and Barrett walk. 1 out later, Greenwell walk. Burks doubled in 2. Benzinger has doubled in 2. It is 4-1 Boston, and not a ball thrown yet in the Oakland bullpen.
I tell you, it's balls like McGuire hit and the one that Benzinger just hit that really gives that wall the reputation of being the monster wall. Duncan wants to come out and talk to his pitcher. I think that's Duncan. Yes, it is.
We're talking about that little slump for Benzinger, 0 for 10, so that's history. And for Benzinger, he keeps it going now. 30 RBIs in his last 31 games. So Todd Benzinger coming up with people aboard and cashing them in.
You get a couple hits like that off the wall, and pitchers just say, well, I don't know where to go. I mean, I go outside to hit it to the wall. I go inside to hit it to the wall.
Interesting, too, sitting here while they're chatting on the mound, talking about Benzinger and Greenwell. Lou Gorman saying that they have 3 kids in the minor leagues who are going to make it.
Make the club. He was pretty emphatic about that.
And I think he said next year.
Next year, they will be on the team. And, of course, he's like a lot of general managers right now, trying to get some pitching help.
1 ball and no strikes. The count to Larry Parrish. 1-1. Larry Parrish, released by Texas the 8th of July. He has always given Oakland a bad time. He's hit 21 home runs in his career against Oakland. That's fouled off. 1-2. Parrish and Jim Rice alternating, but Rice has been struggling. 0 for 16. Had a tough night last night. So Larry Parrish in there today. Waved at that, and down he goes. He was fooled by the pitch and certainly the location. But that's not much of a swing. 2 down, and Spike Owen coming out. As far as strikeouts are concerned, Todd Burns high. He had 7 strikeouts in a game against the California Angels. Here is Spike Owen, a switch hitter, batting left-handed. You have Benzinger at second, 2 out and 4 in, and the Red Sox leading Oakland 4-1. Right. Spike Owen has a little 4-game hitting streak. Spike has 5 home runs. 1 more would be a career high. He would tie it. He's in a hole.
Owen's got to be thinking to himself, this guy's been all over the place. I come up there and he puts 2 fastballs right on the outside corner. Why me?
Following Larry Parrish, who struck out on a big sweeping breaking ball. So whatever Dave Duncan told him seems to be working now. 0-2. Fastball away. Of course, that's the pressure on the pitching coach. He has to find out what you're doing wrong, get out there and spot it and explain it, and then go back and pray.
But I tell you, it's very rarely that if they spot something, unless it's drastic, because the game is not the place to change mechanical failures.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Off speed, and McGuire left the bag for a minute, but he retreats just in time. That's the toughest play for a first baseman, when to go back to the bag, the so-called bottom line. And Owen hustling made it a very close play, but Hubbard got him. And at the end of an inning, Red Sox 4, A's 1. 4-1 Boston, 2nd inning. Carney Lansford, Ron Hasse, and then Glenn Hubbard. And Lansford drills 1 to left field. Greenwell looking up at that baby, and it's up into the screen for a home run for Carney Lansford. His 7th home run of the year, his 52nd run batted in. This game is on a 6-hour pace.
Oh, it's got to be. That first inning, 27 pitches for Burns, 26 for Boyd. But there was the perfect Fenway Park pitch for a hitter. a nice high fastball, and Lansford, who has a jammed thumb, the right thumb, took batting practice, and he said it felt pretty good. Now watch where this pitch is. It's up, and he does what good hitters do to high fastballs. And look at Boyd react.
Lansford, who had been in a collision with Bob Boone of the Angels last Sunday, but he'd also been in a slump. In fact, as of last week, he had held only 3 extra base hits since June 1st. So for the A's, they're delighted to see Lansford come back with the long ball. The batter now, Ron Hasse, and he takes ball 1, 1-0. It's 4-2 in favor of Boston. We're in the top of the second inning. We're just warming up. 1-1. For those who care about Lansford and his career, he's hit 12 home runs here at Fenway against the Red Sox.
You know, La Russa talked in pregame about the defense, but when you got guys like Henderson, Canseco, McGuire, Baylor, Lansford, you can see why you'd overlook the defense. I mean, they're, as we said, 5 game breakers.
Oh, sure. 123 home runs. 2 balls and 1 strike to count. For the A's, you might remember, although everybody was concentrating on Oakland, but they kind of pushed it aside to watch Baltimore when Baltimore went 0 for 21. The A's, they opened up 24-7. They capped that with a 14-game winning streak, and they were 8 over Chicago and 12 over Minnesota. In fact, their high, Tony Saw's ball club, taking an 11-game lead. But then they turned around and lost 9 out of 11, including all 6 they played to Kansas City. And the lead fell to only 4.5 games ahead of the Royals. Here's a drive to right field, and Dwight Evans gone back to the bullpen. This one is gone. Back-to-back home runs, and it is Boston 4, Oakland 3.
And that was a low curveball. After he came inside and moved him back, it looked like Hasse just went down and got it.
So Joe Morgan wheels out Oil Can Boyd to see how his shoulder is, and the A's have a double for a run in the first inning and back to home runs in the second by Lansford and Hasse.
Here's the pitch. Curveball, and he just stayed right with it, low inside. Watch Boyd react. He can't believe it.
We mentioned before how the Red Sox are doing so well at home, and yet they've been out-homered. Now they're in the red by 9, 62-53. Strike.
Well, he had one of those looks like, I think that bat's corked.
So Ron Hasse takes him downtown for Hasse, his 7th home run and his 41st RBI. For Oil Can Boyd, he has now given up 24 home runs. He's not up there yet with Mark Langston, who has given up 30, but he is gaining.
He's getting close. He's a guy who gives up home runs.
1 ball, 1 strike. And remember, we told you 9 of his 22 were hit by a leadoff man. So when Lansford led off the second with a home run, that makes 10 of his 24 hit by a leadoff hitter. Whether that's a lack of concentration or not warming up or what, but it's really being severely punished when that leadoff guy takes you deep. The fellas who have given him up, Willie Frazier has given up 30, Mark Langston 30, Doyle Alexander 24. Last time I looked, Tom Browning 24 over in the National League, and now the Can has given up 24. So it's another game, the old game, kick the can. Remember that game?
Yeah.
3-1 to Glenn Hubbard. Line drive to left field.
He's not fooling anybody this inning. Every ball well hit. Gedman's going to go out and just kind of settle him down, maybe even take a roll call here. Barrett's going to meet Oil Can and talk to him halfway out to second base. Gedman has to wait for him.
So before you can catch a breath, after the Red Sox were leading 4-1, the A's come back. Jeff Sellers gets up in the Boston bullpen. The A's have back-to-back home runs by Lansford, Hasse, and now a line drive single by Hubbard, so little Glenn is the tying run.
Weiss is coming up. I really had a laugh. I think it's one of those great stories. Kid hits a home run. Weiss, you probably saw the same thing. When he hits a home run and the woman sends the ball back to be autographed, but by Mark McGuire.
Yeah, right.
Isn't that awful? You don't hit that many home runs, and you think, oh, man, that lady wants the ball, the home run I hit. She wants it autographed by Mark McGuire.
By another man.
Nice going, lady.
Weiss has hit 3 home runs. Joe Morgan has to be disappointed. He brings the can back. He had been out since the 26th of July when he made his start against Texas. And he's being soundly hammered here in the second inning. Walt Weiss, a switch hitter, batting left-handed. And his good numbers are from this side of the plate. Hubbard, over at first base, has stolen only 1 base this year. So we'll see if they put a hit-and-run play on.
He had to learn how to hit left-handed, natural right-hander. And they don't face that much left-hand pitching, so he gets more bats from this side, which has made him a better hitter from the left side.
Pretty good contact man, too. Strikes out 10% of the time. And this time he makes contact and hits a flare for a base hit. And Hubbard won't stop. He'll go to third. Greenwell overran the ball, but then recovered and got it back in. First and third, nobody out. So after 3 hard hit balls, a little looper into left center field. Base hit for Weiss.
Now you're really in the deep water. Can and Marty Barrett, because you got Polonia up there, good speed and pretty good power, you'd have to say, after last night. And then the big guys come up. Hits it right off the end of the bat, and it just kind of flares out there. Made a good pitch and got burned by it.
Bill Fisher's going to go out and talk to him. Jeff Sellers throwing down in the bullpen. Not very much Fisher can tell him, however, because everything he's gotten over the plate has been hammered, and then the bloop single, but everything else hit hard.
I tell you, that's one of the tough times when this is happening, because, as you say, there's nothing you can tell him, and you just have to listen to him. You say, well, I got pretty good stuff. I made a good pitch, and you saw what happened, and there's really nothing.
I think it was a bad sign when he was looking back at second base and there was nobody out there. That's a bad sign for a pitcher, especially he's been out a month. I would worry about that.
Well, he's one of those emotional young guys. You can see he walks around the mound, talks to himself, really reacts to balls that are hit.
So first and third, nobody out. And Luis Polonia, who walked and scored a run in the first inning, coming up. 5 times this year in 21 starts, Boyd has been knocked out before the 5th inning. 5. And he is certainly on the ropes here in the second inning today. But he's still leading 4-3. Nobody out. A's at first and third. Hubbard at third. Weiss at first. Polonia, slow roll to Barrett. He'll get the front man, but that's all. The tying run is brought in by Hubbard. Safely aboard is Polonia. We have a nice, tasty little 4-4 tie in the second inning. Polonia run batted in, and Dave Henderson coming out. The A's 4 runs, 5 hits. So in an inning and a half, actually an inning and a third, we've had 8 runs and 8 hits. We've had 2 home runs and a double by the A's, and a couple of doubles by the Sox.
And they had one last night where Oakland jumped ahead, Sox went ahead, tied them, tied again, and then the Red Sox ended up winning it. So they battled these 2 ball clubs. Lansford, Weiss, and Polonia all hit the first pitch this inning, so maybe they know something.
Keep an eye on Henderson now and Polonia, and Boyd does just that. One ball and no strikes. Oil can Boyd trying to survive the second inning. Polonia has a pretty good lead, and Gedman pitched out. So they looked at that lead. They figured he would go. They called the pitch out to get him, but he wasn't budging. Polonia, to repeat, has stolen 14 out of 19.
Boy, and if you got any kind of speed at all after the pitch out is when you take off.
1-0. And there he goes. Breaking ball is missed. Gedman, a good throw to get him. Oh, what a nice throw. Rich Gedman got rid of that ball, it seemed, as soon as it got to his hand.
It was really shades of Thurman Munson. He really got that ball over to his infielder in great shape, had something on it, but I mean, it was not only did he get rid of it, watch him. He gets rid of it in a hurry, but watch where the throw is, right on the perfect side. Just get the ball and drop it. Got the ball, dropped the glove, and made the tag. You really tag yourself out with throws like that.
So the catcher really helping his pitcher out with that play. Polonia still can't believe it. He thought he had the jump, but he was burned half a dozen times now, and Gedman puts him away. 2-1 the count to Dave Henderson. And he hits a high fly ball into deep right center. Evans and Burks, and it will be Burks. So the Cans survive the second barely. And at the end of an inning and a half, Oakland 4, Boston 4. We put that note on the table, even with the green monster in left field. The Sox have not homered against the A's, and it's really one-sided in 8 games. The A's have hit 9, and the Red Sox still looking for 1. Now, if you are a stickler, you could correct that a bit. You could say, wait a minute, there's 1 home run hit by a Red Sox player against Oakland. But that would be Larry Parrish, and he did it when he was with Texas. Off speed for a strike. Gedman followed by Boggs and then Barrett. 4-4 in the second inning. It's like a Pier 6 brawl here.
Oh, man. Last guy to bat has got the best chance. You know, they ought to have a lottery with Wade Boggs, Vin, to this extent. When will he swing at the first pitch? And he's going to come up next, and we set it up. He swung at the first pitch 36 times in 541 plate appearances.
See, one thing, he shaved his beard off since last Saturday.
I couldn't believe that when I saw that last night, because I'm saying it was so hot. Now it gets cool, he shaves it off. I don't know, but hey, the way he hits, he can do whatever he wants.
Gedman fouls it away, and the count 3-2. So Oakland got 1. The Red Sox came back with 4. Oakland comes back with 3 to tie it up, and we're only in the bottom of the second. Off speed, and he missed with it. So Gedman draws the walk. Third walk given up by Todd Burns. He has 1 strikeout, and he's given up 2 doubles.
Now, with this guy up there, you walk the guy in front of him, and you're liable to have first and third most of the time. He's just got a statistic. He was hitting 375 with the beard.
And he looks at a strike, 0-1.
He was hitting 275 with the beard on night games in the dome on artificial surface.
Wade Boggs.
Only kidding.
1-1. One thing the Red Sox are not kidding about, they're not very happy about this homestand. As we said, if the Sox are going to make a move on Detroit, they figure to do it here at Fenway, but they're not having a good homestand. That's in there. They played 7 games on this homestand. They've won 4 and lost 3. That's not good enough when you're 6 games under 500 on the road. Fouled away. In fact, since the Red Sox had that flossy 19-1 streak, Joe Morgan has seen his team go 6-10. That's not the way to do it. 1-2 to Wade Boggs.
Wade Boggs, with that pine tar on the bat, is just about at the George Brett line. He's very close.
Keeping up. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Fouled away. Boggs, who I guess hits well against everybody, is hitting .350 against Oakland, including 13 walks. In other words, he's on base percentage against Oakland is better than 500. It's almost 600.
Well, that's where he gets his fan mail at first base. That's his mailing address. Wade Boggs, first base.
Anywhere.
Fenway Park, anywhere, USA.
Big chopper to first. McGuire on the bag. A tag at second.
Oh, he missed it.
Didn't make the tag.
Well, he missed it. He missed it. He didn't see it.
Oh, he's
Weiss
supposed
didn't
to
see
make
it.
the tag. When McGuire stepped on first, that automatically removed the force. Weiss had to tag the runner, and he didn't see it.
He didn't see it, and the play was so close to first base that McGuire, now watch how close he is to the bag, and he steps on it with his right foot, and when he throws, Weiss doesn't see it, and he's going to throw it right back. Now, Gedman thinks he's out, and he goes over 3 or 4 feet. Now they don't get it back in time, but Weiss just didn't see it. McGuire's got to scream or do something because Weiss just didn't see it, but he did it so easily at first base, Vin. You can see where that could happen.
So the Sox get a big break. They have a tie-breaking run at second with 1 out, and Marty Barrett asking for time, and it was granted, so no pitch.
Boy, I don't know what you could do because he just stepped. You got a motion or something, but
You'd have to train somebody on the infield to holler. Tag,
well,
tag.
first baseman's got to holler because Weiss was concentrating on getting the throw, and you saw when the play, McGuire was so close to the bag, he really is shifted into position, and he put his foot on the bag, and that took the force away.
Marty Barrett hitting .286, and a hot hitter, a strike. So in the inning, Gedman walks. Should have been a double play, but wasn't, so Rich is at second base with 1 out. Barrett walked in the first inning. Fouls a breaking ball off 1 and 2.
Here's another look at that play. Now watch McGuire. He's so close. Now he braces himself, and you see Weiss. He's going to get it back to him. And I'll tell you, it would have been a double play if McGuire had not stepped on the bag.
And that's going to be hit into right center for a base hit. Here comes Gedman to score. So the man who wasn't there now becomes the go-ahead run.
Marty Barrett just puts that ball in play. Very rarely you see him overswing. He makes contact, just went with the pitch and gets the big base hit.
That's 5 straight for Marty Barrett. You know, the A's, and Tony was talking about it before the game, a very good defensive club. Mark McGuire made an error the other day, and before that they had gone 93 innings without an error. They committed 2 errors last night, and now they commit a mental error today, and it hurts them, and they're down 5-4.
That's got to be the thing that Tony's talking about, is try to get it out of your mind. It happens, so that's it. Tony, of course, you've heard so much about him, a lawyer, and they talk about lawyers in the Hall of Fame and so forth and so on. One of the things that Sandy Alderson, the general manager, said about him, which I think makes a lot of sense, that as an attorney, he approaches problems more analytically than the average person. And when you talk to him, that really does come through.
So 5-4 Boston in the second inning, and Dwight Evans at the plate. Evans with that familiar batting stance. In fact, Lee Montville referred to the way he touches his left toe to the ground as if he were testing the water to see if it was too cold for swimming. See that?
Well, that's Walt Riniak. Riniak, who is the batting coach here, he works with all of them. Is get up on that toe, get that weight on the back foot, and then come forward swinging down.
1 ball and no strikes, and that's fouled away. In fact, when Lee was writing about Evans, talking about the toe touching the ground, he said he still wiggles and waggles and sets himself on his precarious perch, part ballet, part sneaking through the door late at night so no one can hear. Tiptoeing into the box. Dwight Evans. 1 ball, 1 strike. 1 and 2. So the Sox got a break, and what is more important, what you do with the break, and they cashed it in on Barrett's single. 5-4 Boston. Interesting thing, the A's have lost 2 straight. They've only done that twice since the All-Star break. They have not lost 3 straight since before the All-Star break.
It's another long inning for Oil Can Boyd, too. Just wonder if that's a factor. It's coming off that Bad show. What is it? He had a clot.
Clot, right.
Coming off that, and he had a long first inning, another long inning here. And there you see him. Jacket.
2 balls and 2 strikes to count. So the Can had a 4-1 lead, and that got away. Now he has a 5-4 lead. Evans with the count, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Fly to right field in the first inning. Foul back. Evans and Rice, we were talking before about Canseco and McGuire being a great home run duo. They have hit 710 home runs for Boston. Evans 337 and Rice 373. And that's hammered to right, and it's going to be in there and go in the corner. Canseco is chasing it. Barrett is into third. They're waving Barrett around. He will score. Going to third, Dewey Evans.
And another thing about this Fenway crowd, in fact, I was surprised to even see one hand come out of the stands, because if somebody grabs that ball, it's a ground rule double, and they stop Barrett at third. But now watch here. You don't see any hands. I was surprised to see that one come. Look at that guy. If he touches it, and he's mad, I guarantee if he'd have touched it, that youngster would have been booed.
Obviously an out-of-towner.
Oh,
a
yeah.
visitor.
Because these fans here, they know how to play that wall. If it's our guy, let it alone. If it's their guy, you touch it.
High fly ball down the left field line off the bat of Mike Greenwell and back into the crowd out of play. And the count 0-1. So in the inning, Gedman walked. The big play, Boggs hit a hopper to McGuire, who stepped on first, but Weiss failed to see that. Didn't realize he had to make a tag play, so they missed the double play. And Gedman was safe at second. Barrett singled him in, and now Evans has tripled in Barrett. It is 6-4 Boston in the second inning, and Burns has already made 51 pitches. What a game. Fouled away. Like being inside a pinball machine. We've had 10 runs, 10 hits, 2 home runs, 3 doubles and a triple, and we're in the second inning.
And 1 mental error.
Last night, 7-6 in favor of Boston, and a wild one today. And that's hit into right center field. And racing is Canseco, and it's going to bounce into the Sox bullpen. Evans scores on the ground rule double. It is 7-4 Boston.
I don't know how much longer La Russa's going to wait to take him out of there, but he's had that bullpen going. He's got to make the move because they're hammering him.
If this were a fight, they'd stop it for eye cuts. So Mike Greenwell has a 5-game hitting streak as he doubles into the bullpen, and they're on the phone to the pen. What a lathering. 7 runs, 6 hits.
They can't catch up with it. Over it goes. Henderson reacts to it, but he's just going to watch it. Both of them. There it is, guys. 2-base hit.
The perfect named pitcher is loosening up for this game. Plunk. Eric Plunk. 7-4 Boston, and Ellis Burke's at the plate. And time.
I would think he's going to go out there and stall and make the move if he's ready.
La Russa and Morgan, of course, each man showing a great deal of patience. Neither pitcher giving you any feeling that he would be around very long. Polonia opened up with a walk for Oakland. Boggs opened up with a single for Boston, and it's been downhill for each starting pitcher since.
Just saw Joe Morgan with the ball in his hand. He'll pick up a bat or he'll flip the ball around while he's watching the game. He said that's the most dangerous thing for him to do, though.
0-1. And that's going to be lifted to center. Henderson started back on the ball, but now comes up. 2 down.
He said he was doing that one time with the ball, and the umpire made a call he didn't agree with. He said, I threw the ball and hit one of my pitchers, Mark Bombeck, in the arm.
Where was he, in the minor leagues?
He was in the minor leagues, yeah. So he just got rid of it. He said he got all worked up. He threw the ball at Karen and hit my pitcher. So that's dangerous for him to do that.
So with 2 down in the second inning, 7-4 Boston. And Todd Benzinger at the plate, doubled in the first inning. And he's really been Mr. Clutch. He lifts one off third, heading for the seats, and it will go out of play. The reason we call him Mr. Clutch, he had 49 runs batted in, Benzinger did. In fact, he had a couple. He picked up 2 in the first inning. And almost half of his RBIs have come with 2 out. So watch him here. Todd Benzinger, followed by Larry Parrott. 11 runs, 11 hits total in the game. Of course, they have a long way to go for the most runs in a game combined. The Angels and the White Sox had 29 in a game. And there's a flare to right center. Henderson makes the play. Boy, nothing comes easy for anybody today. 3 runs for Boston. It's 7-4 Sox at the end of 2 innings. And we'll be right back after these messages from your local station. We're going to the 3rd inning with Boston leading Oakland 7-4. Jose Canseco, Mark McGwire, and Don Baylor for the A's, who have been in sole possession of first place since the 21st of April. Strike. The A's have won 39 games on the road. The last time they won 40 or more was way back in 1975. They won 44 that year. The best road team Oakland ever had was in 1971. They won 55. That was also the year the club won 101 games. Strike 1 and 2. This club is on a pace to tie the American League club of 100 victories when the Tigers did it with 104 in 1984. So no lead is safe against them, and especially here at Fenway. 1 and 2 to Canseco. 2 and 2.
That's that ball he turns over, kind of like a cut fastball. Now 2 and 2. Remember last time he got him on that big curveball. He's thrown him nothing but fastballs except for that last pitch where he turned it over.
With everything else, they say Canseco's the best 2-strike hitter on the team. Fouled off.
He goes into kind of a 2-strike stance at times. I was trying to watch it there to see where he spreads out and just use those big, powerful arms, and he can still drill that ball.
Those who see him every day, they said he's lost about a dozen home runs this year in Oakland because of the wind. Can you imagine? 2 and 2. Ball 3. In fact, in talking about his ability to hit with 2 strikes, he has a dozen home runs with 2 strikes.
He's up to 3 and 2. Then he struck him out with the curveball, and he hasn't thrown him one yet.
Fastball, and it's lined to center, right at Ellis Burks. 1 away.
See, Burks had to really stay with it because that ball was knuckling out there. That's how hard he hit it.
1 away, and Mark McGwire will be the batter. McGwire doubled in the first inning to cash in Luis Polonia.
Last year, he had 20 home runs on the first pitch, and there was a reason for it. A lot of the pitchers would be throwing that get it over for a strike fastball or get it over for a curve. But right now, this year, after his reputation of last year, they're going out working on McGwire from the start.
And he hammers that one down the left field line in the corner, and it goes foul. Remember last year they were talking about Mark McGwire being Marco Solo because he hit a lot of home runs with the bases empty. But that's not true this year. Oh, yeah, he has 11 solo home runs, but he's hit 6 with 2 runners on and 6 with 1 man on. And he's also had his first career grand slam. And, of course, what a 1-2 punch that is. Canseco, McGwire, Strawberry, and Howard Johnson, and Gaetti and Herbeck. Fouled away.
You know, last year when he hit the home runs, they would constantly ask him, remember at the All-Star game, how they just pounced on him, and he said, how many are you going to hit? He said, I don't know. I've never played in this league. I don't know. Having hit 49 this year, they're comparing him, saying, hey, you're 10 games ahead or 10 games behind. That's all added pressure. They really used a yardstick, and it makes it tough on the youngster.
You know, I'll give you another insight into pressure. Remember last year he hit 49 home runs, and everybody was saying, is he going to hit 50? Will he hit 50? Well, from the 1st of September on, in quest of hitting 50, the pressure didn't bother him. He hit 374. So he's quite a disciplined kid. 2-2. Got it. And for the Can now, he retires 2 in a row.
And he did it with the fastball to McGuire, and he got Canseco with the fastball, even though Canseco's ball was well hit. It's a good, hard fastball. You see him really turn it loose, and look at him react.
Well, that's his second strikeout, and now it'll bring up Don Baylor. Oh, got him. So Baylor hit on the left shoulder.
That is not news, is it?
For Don Baylor, just to keep the record straight, that is the 7th time he has been hit this year. And the batter will be Carney Lansford.
I think I'm going to go by memory. 261 times. Just try.
So Baylor, who needless to say did not rub.
They never do.
And here is Lansford. We'll go to the books and dig out just how many times he has been hit. Ball 1. A total of 262 times. So you were close.
61. 262 with this?
262.
Hey, Elliot, were you impressed?
1 ball and no strikes. It's 7-4 Boston in the 3rd inning. Lansford, who homered in the 2nd inning, tried to take that one deep.
Looked like the same pitch, too. It was up.
Look what happened to Carney Lansford. After a magnificent May, he really hit the skids. Now, he only hurt that thumb a week ago, so it's really been a battle. And as of the first week in August, he had only 3 extra base hits since the June 1st. He just stopped completely. So it was kind of a surprise when he hit that home run in the 2nd inning. 2-1. Boston 7, Oakland 4. Top of the 3rd inning. Lansford, a fine hitter. He has always been one of the tough hitters to strike out. He has only struck out 26 times all year. Over in the National League, Cincinnati's Barry Larkin would be very tough, and the Cubs' Rafael Palmeiro.
Oh, Getman, you can see he came back with the same thing, and Boyd shook him off, and more emphatically he told him, this is what I want. And they back out, they start all over again. And he got the pitch he wanted.
3 balls and 1 strike. And he missed outside. So after getting 2 batters in a row, and it looked like he'd have an easy inning, he hit Baylor. Now he comes back and walks Lansford, and Ron Hasse, who homered in the 2nd inning, will be coming up. Meanwhile, Nolan Ryan has a perfecto for 5, and the Astros leading Pittsburgh 1-0. Each team chasing. Houston chasing the Dodgers, Pittsburgh chasing the Mets, and the Can has had it. So Oil Can goes 2 2/3 innings. He allows at least 4 runs. He made 62 pitches, and Joe Morgan says enough is enough. We'll try you again in a few days. It is 7-4 Boston.
An American tradition continues. For over 70 years, the pinstripe legacy has been one of success. A roll call of glorious Hall of Famers who brought 33 pennants and 22 world championships to New York. Next Saturday, the Yankees meet the Angels, or the Cubs face the Braves. The tradition is here. The memories are waiting.
Oil Can Boyd goes 2 2/3 innings, leaves with his club out in front 7-4. The Can, as a starting pitcher, however, did not go the required 5, so he cannot be involved in winning the game. And they give the ball to Jeff Sellers, who will gratefully take a win. Not only is he 0-6, but he has been shut out 4 times in his games. Frank Viola did it twice. Also, Storm Davis and Dave Steve beat him with shutouts. So he comes in and has a chance to hold on and pick up a victory. He's under 500 in his career with Oakland, 2-3, and he's had a terrible time with left-handed batters. And guess who he's looking at? A left-hand hitter, Ron Hasse.
Control has been his problem. He's got a good slider, and he'll get that radar gun up to 90.
Ball 1. Sellers came back from a 20-day rehab at Pawtucket. He suffered a broken bone in his right hand. June the 21st, he was pitching in Cleveland. Joe Carter hit a shot that got him on the hand, busted it, and it sent him out. And while he was pitching in Pawtucket, he took one right in the stomach. Jeff Sellers from Compton, California.
You know, just watching him grip that ball that way, if you were going to try to steal something, you'd really watch if he does it the same way, the bare hand, how he grips it in the glove.
1 ball and 1 strike to count.
Watch out, the last one, he kind of bent that wrist a little bit as he was gripping it. See it?
And there's a ground ball slowly to shortstop. Spike Owen has to go the long way, and they get that last out. No runs, no hits, 2 left. And at the end of 2.5 innings, the Red Sox 7 and Oakland 4. As we pick up the action, Larry Parrish, first ball swinging, flies to center, so 1 up and 1 away in the 3rd inning, with the Red Sox leading Oakland 7-4, and the batter will be Spike Owen. One thing, when you come here to Fenway and you see a game like today, it really is a shock, because when you look at offensive weapons in both leagues, everything is down. In the National League, home runs are down 31% from last year. In the American League, home runs are down 27%. Batting averages are down. And, of course, with all of that, earned run averages are down. In the National League, 11 of the 12 teams are lower in batting average. 8 of the 14 American League teams are lower. And, you know, I really and truly, I'm convinced now that part of it is the ball. And I tell you why.
Why?
I was watching them sign some balls back at Dodger Stadium, and we had a box of balls, a dozen balls. And they were goofy looking.
Were they game balls?
Yeah,
or were those
yeah. No, these were regular
blue light specials. They were?
If you held the ball up and you had the seams on the top, instead of the perfect round meeting, it would start to go round, then it would dip in. It was almost like an egg shape, almost.
Really?
Yeah, and soft, and the...
Well, soft, yes. I can see that because you can grab a ball. Even I can grab a ball, and I can pinch it and get the seams. I can raise the seams.
Well, I have no idea how they make the ball from one year to the next, but the dozen balls that we were looking at the other night were really weird. 2-2 the count.
But you know, Vin, you talk about earned runs down, home runs down, but the attendance is up.
Oh, that's the whole...
When the great scorer comes to right beside your name, it's not who won or lost, but how many came to the game.
And check Fenway Park. They're going to be 39 straight capacity, well over 30,000. Today will be 39 straight. They're drawing 90% of capacity all year. That's a base hit to left. So Spike Owen, a 1-out single to left, and that'll bring up Rich Gedman. Talking about attendance, another interesting thing, the Oakland A's. They're averaging 27,800 at home, 27,600 on the road. Actually, the only difference for the A's, home and road, 174 more people on the road than at home. Is that something?
That is. When you talk about Evans and his front foot, by the way, watch Gedman. He is really a disciple of Walt Riniak, and he's a guy you can put a play on with.
Right. Gedman walked and scored a run in the second inning. Remember when they forgot to tag him at second base?
He doesn't get up on his toe like Evans, but he's looking for a sign right now. But he really gets that weight on that back foot, and his swing is really down. He works hard, this fellow.
1 ball and 1 strike to count to Gedman. Hitting .232. Half a dozen home runs. Gedman is really put together and playing in this ballpark, although he is left-handed, and it's a long fall away once you do not go down the line. But he's so big and well put together, you just think of power immediately when you see him. He's a solid 6 215-pounder. He did hit 24 home runs in 1984, but he's gone downhill ever since.
Watch Owen.
And he lifts one back a third. Going back forward is Carney Lansford. 2 down, Owen holding, and Wade Boggs coming up.
This is the only ballpark when the ball is hit hard between the third baseman and the bag that the shortstop has to go out to the outfield and not go all the way out, because that jut along the wall, as you see right there where it sticks out, that ball will hit that and come right straight back, and he could make a play many times.
Whereas Boggs singled and grounded out a strike. Of course, when you look down the other way, if you hit the ball right down the line to the right field foul line, it's only 302 feet, the shortest porch in town. However, look at the fall away. If you hit it to straightaway right field, it's 380 feet.
That's what the new parks don't have. They don't have all these little angles and all these nuances. I mean, you go back to some of the old Tiger Stadium's got it. Wrigley Field, of course.
0-1 to count to Wade Boggs. Remember Crosley Field, where you had to run up a hill?
Yeah, but the best was that ballpark you broadcast in. That thing was like a house of horrors when it hit in right field. You didn't know if it was going to hit an Abe Stark sign, the scoreboard, top of the fence, and come down Evans Field. That was an adventure.
0-2, 2-1. And of course, way back when, they used to have to run up the little terrace here at Fenway Park. In fact, at one time, the wall in left field was only 10 feet high, but that's going back a ways. 2-1 to count to Boggs. And he hammers it to right. Canseco coming up, backhands it. Boy, that ball was just starting to move. No runs, 1 hit, a man left. At the end of 3, it is quieted down for the moment. 7-4 Boston. A look back now at a very special Olympic moment. Around the horn, just skimming the cream off the top this past week, or perhaps what's going to happen tonight. For instance, Minnesota's Frank Viola not only going for his 20th win tonight against Texas, it would be his 100th career win. Carlton Fisk setting an American League record for games caught. Boy, that's a lot of squatting, 1,807. And one of the big stories, certainly in the National League, Pedro Guerrero traded by the Dodgers for John Tudor. Tudor winning his first game as a Dodger, and Guerrero with a couple of hits and some RBIs last night helped get the Cardinals well. So a trade that would appear to be benefiting each team. 7-4 Boston in the 4th. Glenn Hubbard.
As you well know, I was in Minnesota all last week, and what a tragedy, Gaetti getting hurt like that at a time like this. Talking about he may be out the rest of the year. What a tough break.
Hit the bat, and the count 0-2.
That got Gedman, too.
Now, we'll check the bat, right?
I know. See, Gedman, he went down. Nobody's asking him. He's got to stay down and talk to himself.
In fact, the scoreboard shows 1-1, so apparently it avoided the bat. Take another look.
I don't think it avoided the bat.
No. So it is 0-2. High slicing foul down the right field line, out of play. Hubbard, who is seriously beamed, wears a special protective helmet. Doctor in Atlanta helped devise it. And not only does it help him physically, but I'm sure it's a tremendous help mentally.
Terry Steinbach wears the same one, and I'll tell you, it's great.
In fact, I was just thinking, with Hubbard wearing that special helmet and Rich Gedman not taking his mask off, those are just some of the the preventives from fellas who have really suffered serious injuries.
Yeah, Gedman doesn't take that mask off on those throws, and you know, I often wondered about that, and it's just a habit. You can see the ball just as well. I mean, if you can catch, like right now with the mask on, why take it off when the throw comes in from the outfield?
Walt Weiss, ball one, and dipped in. I had asked some catchers, and I know one or two have said that they just don't feel they can see the ball as well, but it's probably because they never really tried it.
Never tried it. You do it because the other guy does it.
One ball and one strike.
If the big star would do it, as the big year, everybody would do it.
Remember the batting helmet?
We started that thing
I know
in Pittsburgh, and then when the Dodgers, I'll tell you the best example was the shoulder protector. When Campanella started to wear that one on the left side, everybody started to wear it, and I know where that happened because they designed it for me in Pittsburgh or St. Louis when I got hurt, and then Campy liked it and he put it on when they all did it.
2-1 to count. Then Steve Yeager took a foul ball in the neck.
Right.
And so he had a piece of leather attached to his mask, and it dangled down in front to protect the throat. Gedman doesn't have that. He has a small extension of metal at the chin line. Ball 3.
Well, just like your thing has been with the back line in the batter's box, mine has always been put steel toe, like the workman's shoe, and the spikes for the catchers. It's not going to hurt anybody's speed.
3-1. And there's ball 4. I think today, however, was the millennium in all my moaning and groaning about how they allow the hitters to wipe the back line out of the batter's box. When the 4 umpires met at home plate, Messrs. Shulock, Ford, Johnson, and Riley, they wiped out the back line. Now, that to me is unbelievable that the officials are doing it. So why bother? I can't believe it. Here's Luis Polonia. Walked, hit into a force play, scored a run. He's 0 for 1. The droopy draws of the American League.
I'm telling you, that's something.
We're going to take points off for neatness on Polonia. He probably says it bothers his legs, maybe the
he's got a
circulation.
reason.
Sure.
Well,
Right.
some of those guys, they wear those thin stirrups. You can just see like a string. They say, well, I don't want to tie my ankles to make them too tight. That's just like a regular pair of pants. I mean, zoot suit style.
1 ball, 1 strike to Luis Polonia. If nothing else on that pitch, a pretty good fake by Walt Weiss, and with the left-hand hitter up there, Spike Owen broke to cover. Barrett's playing him to pull, so it would be the shortstop side. So if they put a hit-and-run play on, Polonia would probably try to go the other way, if he can.
Rule of thumb is always the second baseman holds with left-hand hitters, and right-handers, it's the shortstop who holds.
Fouled away, 1-2 the count. 7 runs, 7 hits for Boston, and they're doing with 3 doubles and a triple. Oakland, 4 runs, 5 hits. They've had a double and 2 home runs. One and 2. A save by Gedman. 2 balls, 2 strikes the count. The A's have certainly had their troubles. Kurt Young with a bad shoulder, Carney Lansford's thumb. Dave Parker had the cast removed from his thumb August the 5th. He suffered torn ligaments July 3rd when he hooked the thumb under the bag at second base in Toronto. Left-hander Matt Young went to Arizona for rehab. Ontiveros has had elbow tendonitis, and yet they've been sailing along, 8 games in front. Fouled away. It's interesting, too, to see Tony La Russa here today. La Russa, who has been managing Oakland for 2 years and a month and a half. The first game he managed was here in Fenway in July of '86 for Oakland.
There were 4 other lawyer managers in baseball history. I even wrote it down. Did you know that? Do you know who they are?
No, I have no idea.
I didn't either, but I'm going to tell you.
Fouled away.
You're a good guy.
I'm glad you brought it up.
Monty Ward, Huey Jennings, Miller Huggins, and Branch Rickey. Lawyer managers. And there is the 5th.
Well, he should manage Philadelphia. I mean, we got to have a Philadelphia lawyer, right? 2 balls, 2 strikes. Ball 3. Now with 1 out, just checking Polonia's numbers. He has struck out only 22 times, but he doesn't walk much either. Only 11 walks. We'll see if that means you're going to turn him loose. As far as grounding into double plays, just 1.
I would.
There he goes. Foul back.
I couldn't believe you passed up that lawyer thing. Elliott got it. He said some managers pass the bars, others never pass a bar. I will not take credit for that. That goes with wine and Rojas. Come on. Dead men tell no tales.
3-2. The count to Luis Polonia. And Dave Henderson on deck. It's 7-4 Boston. We're in the top of the 4th inning. And we'll see now. Weiss figures to go again. Fouled away again.
Remember last week we did the game here, and Murphy of Detroit was having trouble going right and left.
Yeah, and
then we talked about moving to the shade. What do you think Reed told me today? He said when he got to second base, he said, man, you guys, I go one way, you hit it the other way. I finally said, I'm just going to stand in the shade.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame you. You know that as hot as it was here last Saturday, it was hotter on Sunday.
That's what they said.
But it's beautiful today.
Oh! And the reason you think about it, here's Weiss breaking off and having to come back for the foul ball. That really wears the guys down.
I think last Sunday, if I remember in the paper I read, it said it was 103 in Boston.
Oh.
It's in the 70s today. It's beautiful. Weiss goes. Ground ball to short, so no chance to get anything but the runner at first. That's the second out. 2 down. Weiss at second, and Dave Henderson coming up.
It's been in baseball ever since it began. Stay away from that double play on offense, and you do that by starting runners and keep it in order on defense by hitting the cutoff man, and that's what the good ball clubs do, and you saw Oakland stay away from that double play.
When Dave Henderson was picked up by Oakland, I bet the Giants wish they had him back. You know, the Giants got rid of Jeffrey Leonard, but when they had Leonard coming off last year, they probably figured they had all the power they needed, and they have just stopped as far as the long ball is concerned. And meanwhile, Henderson is having a big year with 19 home runs. When he was signed by Oakland, he said, they're going to put me down in the lineup, and I'm going to get a lot of cookies. Well, he's hitting in the number 2 slot, and he has more than a box of cookies with 19.
Dave Duncan and Latchman, big factors in him getting on this ball club.
Half swing, that'll cost him. 0-2.
Man, that thing was 4 or 5 feet outside, too. He just had made up his mind he was going to swing. That wasn't a case of hitting the ball where it's pitched. It's hitting if it's pitched. Look at that. A breaking ball way outside, and Shulock called it right away.
Last night, when he arrived here, the writers were talking to him about his days with the Red Sox, and especially his home run in Game 5 against the California Angels. And he wasn't impressed with that at all. Down he goes. As he said, while everybody else was out there fighting for history, I was just trying to do a job. And at the end of 3.5 innings, Boston 7, Oakland 4. Marty Barrett followed by Dwight Evans and Mike Greenwell. Bottom of the 4th inning, 7-4 Boston. Todd Burns, the right-hander, starting for Oakland and still out there. Marty Barrett has walked and scored a run, singled and scored a run. His base hit knocked in a run.
With that stance, Marty Barrett's going to hit a lot of balls from center field to the right field line, but I'll tell you, like the other night, when they tried to come inside, he turned on it and he drilled it between the third baseman and the bag. That's not the way he does it. Usually he hits from the center field to the right field line with that closed stance.
Todd Burns is really simmering out there. He's made 75 pitches so far, and we're only in the 4th inning. Off speed, pulled to third. Carney Lansford kind of side-arming the ball to McGuire, 1 away. A rather interesting story out of Pittsburgh. First of all, here's the score. 2-1 Pittsburgh in the 7th. Jose leaned a 2-run single, but that doesn't tell the story. Nolan Ryan did not allow a hit. In fact, retired 17 in a row. That meant with 2 out in the 6th inning, he was pitching a perfecto, and he walked, of all people, the left-hand pitcher for Pittsburgh, John Smiley. Then he gave up a base hit to Bonds, who stole second to put runners at second and third. Jose leaned, got a base hit to drive in 2 runs. Nolan Ryan was backing up home plate just in case of an overthrow. There was no overthrow, but after backing up, he never went back to the mound. He left the field, went to the dugout, and went back to the clubhouse. And the word is he had pain in the lower back. Boy, you talk about hitting the skids from a perfect game. Everything went down, and he was in the clubhouse a losing pitcher right now. Ground ball to short, backhanded by Weiss. Plenty of time to get Dwight Evans. 2 down in the 4th inning. And that'll bring up Mike Greenwell. Greenwell has walked and doubled. In fact, when you look at your scorebook, only Larry Parrish and Gedman are hitless, and Gedman has walked. Of course, talking about back pain, when you talk about that up here in Boston, you immediately think of the name Roger Clemens, who is 0-3 in his last 3 starts with an earned run average of 11, but they say he's coming along nicely. That's that for Mike Greenwell. And for the first time today, the side is retired in order for either side. And at the end of 4, 7-4 Boston. We'll be back after these messages from your local station. 9 home runs this year, 373 in his career, but hitless in his last 16 at-bats. So Jim Rice sits and waits. Jose Canseco, 4-1. The A's atop the American League West by 8, and they have really been beating up on the East. They're 44-20 against the East. They've won all 6 games they've played this year in Toronto. They beat the Tigers 8 out of 12. If you combine the Red Sox and Brewers, they've beaten them 10 out of 13. That's overwhelming. Only the Yankees have managed to split with Oakland, and the A's travel to the Bronx after tomorrow's game here at Fenway. So they are indeed a power for the East to reckon with, no matter who wins.
Talked about concentration before. You just wonder if that's all part of it. You know, hey, the big guys, we'll get them, and then there's a let-up.
It's interesting. They talk about the mental toughness of a ball club, and perhaps Tony La Russa has put that into some of his young players. In looking at extra inning games, in games where they play 13 innings or more, where you really want to just say, I've had enough, La Russa's team 7-0 in games that are 13 innings or more. Remember, they had back-to-back 16-inning games in Toronto and Cleveland, and they won both of them with Mark McGwire hitting home run. He was the hero of those 2 days. Line drive hammered to left field for a base hit. Boy, that almost handcuffs the left fielder. Mike gets an idea of what it's like playing third base out there.
High fastball. He really tomahawked it. You know, that was one of the things talking about that Oakland club Sandy Alderson talked about. You know, this is a guy who talks about trades and saying we're reallocating our resources, but he talked about we have to get rid of that atmosphere in our clubhouse. We have to change the attitude. And that mental toughness shows up in those extra inning games.
You know, another thing, you mentioned a key word that makes you think of it. Here's McGwire now lifting one foul, and that will go way out of play. You said atmosphere. And when you think about it, Oakland is a cool weather ball club, and they're certainly not as worn down as other teams. The average game time temperature, for instance, during the A's most recent homestand was 62 degrees and a high of 65. Now, you know, you come back anywhere in the East or Midwest this summer, it has been a killer.
Well, they've only had, what, 1 day playing in 90 degrees.
And in checking the Oakland Weather Bureau, they've had 90 degrees or hotter 3 times, and Oakland was on the road 2 of the 3. So there is a little added bonus playing in Oakland, and I guess you keep your strength a little bit longer. Of course, for Oakland, not that it's ever going to have a real heat wave, but September is the warmest month. 1-2.
You talk about keeping strength. You look at the forearms on McGuire and Canseco and Parker and Baylor, and you are talking industrial strength forearms.
You're talking about the village Smitty, huh?
Boy.
1-2 to Mark. He has doubled and struck out. Canseco, despite being as big as he is, the last I heard was the fastest runner in the Oakland organization. And Canseco is 6'3" and 230. High fly ball to straightaway center. Burks a full turn to the warning track. So with the wall and the 302 feet down the right field line, but center field at Fenway is a graveyard. It falls away to 420. Friends, today's game is brought to you by Oldsmobile. Test drive a new Oldsmobile soon at your nearby Oldsmobile dealer. Don Baylor coming up. Baylor fouled out and hit by a pitch. 0 for 1. Interesting comments about some of the Yankees about the influence that Don Baylor has in a clubhouse, and how when he speaks, if he tells you to bear down, I mean, you feel like your life is at stake. You had better bear down. And if someone has a bad day, he'll be the first one to go over and console. He won't let somebody sit alone quietly and stew in dejection. And the Yankees were saying Winfield certainly is big enough to do it, but he doesn't apparently have the same impact that a Baylor has. Yeah.
Well, La Russa talks about the difference on this ball club. He says, you know, they're not going to listen to a guy hitting 150 career like I did, but if Baylor or Parker says something to the young players, it means it.
One away in the 5th inning. It's 7-4 Boston. Canseco at first and Baylor waiting. Young Jeff Sellers on the mound.
Leadership is a funny thing, man. You do it on the field. I mean, the guys that holler are not necessarily the leaders, and it's not a case where a guy has to babysit. It's just that when he says something, it means so much. Oh, they got him. You see how he was leaning, and he tagged him high, and he thinks he was in there, but he had ideas, and they nailed him. I think he was safe. What do you think of that?
Well, it looked like he went right over his left hip.
Right over him. I think he was safe. I really think he was safe. He went over him and he tagged him right on his rump, and his foot was in there.
So Baylor takes high, but Canseco, and that is ruled caught stealing, so that's the 14th time he will be rung up that way.
He's explaining it now that he got tagged high, but it really looked that way.
That's a killer, of course, with 1 out in Fenway Park and a home run hitter on deck, and you're down by 3. There's ball 4. So, of course, that's a rally killer for the moment anyway. And where Carney Lansford now would represent the tying run, since Canseco is still back in the dugout having been picked off, Lansford is not. Expensive play for Canseco. Carney Lansford homered and walked, 1 for 1. It's 7-4 Boston. Lansford hitting .290. 1 ball and no strike. Ron Hasse on deck.
Boyd, when he was in there, was pitching Lansford high fastballs, and right here they tried to get that ball down.
Good save by Gedman. Ball 2. So Sellers is struggling a little bit.
That's his problem, control, but you also saw that good slider. You saw the big break. That slider, the one he's got, breaks down and away.
When Oil Can Boyd came back, they had to make room for him. They sent John Trotwine out to Pawtucket. And Sellers is on the edge of going out. That's a strike. Because Dennis Lamp was on the disabled list with a sore elbow for the first time in his 11-year career. And Lamb threw very well the other day. When Lamb comes back, they'll have to make an adjustment, and it could be that Sellers would go down. Check swing foul. Now, when you go down in this day and age, and you've been a roster player, you're going to be called back up September 1st. But if he goes down and he's not called back until the 1st of September, he wouldn't be eligible for postseason play. It'll be a tough decision.
Well, and this is almost like an audition for Sellers. I mean, if he is really, really impressive, it makes a tougher decision. Doesn't have a good outing, and it makes an easy decision.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. So Deuce is wild on Lansford. Fouled away.
But, you know, sending guys out now, man, it's almost like he's got written in his contract, I get frequent flyer miles. They send him out today, bring him back tomorrow, send him back out.
Of course, one thing, if you pick the right time to do it, Pawtucket is just around the corner. 2-2. Now he goes 3-2 to Lansford, and each time he misses, Canseco has to die a little bit more in the dugout for having been picked off. They'd really have heat on him now. He's made 20 pitches this inning, and there's Jose. Jose, can you see what has happened? 3-2. Got him. So Lansford, who does not strike out very often, strikes out in a big time. No runs, 1 hit. 1 left and not 2, and it's 7-4 Boston.
Here's that play again. Now, what do you think? I think his Benzinger's glove goes over Canseco, and Canseco comes in there. But now Ford is right on top of that play, and you talk about selling a call. Watch how emphatic he is, right on top of it. And that's what they mean by say, sell that call. He was sure of it, and he sold it.
Good follow through.
Yeah, he lost his balance swinging at that. He should swing at a golf ball that hard.
So Jose is alone with his thoughts out there in right field. Meanwhile, Ellis Burks promptly bangs one down in the corner, and Burks on his way for a couple as Polonia goes in to retrieve. So Burks with 2 doubles and 3 trips. The Sox have 4 doubles and a triple today. And we're only in the 5th inning.
Well, I think La Russa has really been very patient, although he's got the bullpen going right now. As we look at it from our roof camera, you can see how close that wall is to the fans. And Polonia makes the play, but it's a 2-base hit.
Eric Plunk gets up again in the Oakland bullpen, and Todd Benzinger will be the batter with Ellis Burks at second base. Interesting chain of event when you look at Ellis Burks and you realize because they knew how good he is, and La Russa's heading for the mound, they knew how good Ellis Burks was, so Dave Henderson disappeared. Then Henderson surfaces with Oakland and has such a good spring training that Luis Polonia goes down. Burks continues to sail along. Henderson remains in center field for Oakland, and Polonia comes back, and the little guy's in left field.
He's going to make the change.
It figured, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I think he was very patient with him.
So Todd Burns has been burned indeed. 7 runs and 8 hits. If you look in the box score tomorrow of this game, you're going to see Todd Burns 4 innings, and you might say, well, that was a pretty short assignment. Don't be misled by that. He was involved in this game for 2 hours and 6 minutes, and he made 80-some-odd pitches. So that's a deceptive 4 innings.
It's a lot of network time. Some comedy shows would like to have that much exposure.
A series. So it's up to things that go Plunk in the night. Eric Plunk will pick up for Todd Burns, and he'll be facing Benzinger, Parrish, and Owen with a runner at second and nobody out in the 5th inning. Eric, 5 wins and 2 losses. He's from Wilmington, California. Todd Benzinger doubled and hit one right on the screws, but it was right at Dave Henderson to close out the second inning. 4-1. Eric Plunk, 6'5", 210.
Shulak got hit. Nobody asked him about it. Look at him fire that ball back to the pitcher. He just slammed that ball right down on the ground. He took himself a whack. Watch where that ball hits him and watch his reaction. Now that guy Shulak, you saw where it got him. Now he doesn't like that at all. And who would? He picks up that ball and he slammed it.
Makes you think of Bruce Fleming, who was hit twice this year when the catcher missed the pitch.
Oh, that will upset him.
And the same catcher. That almost seems personal.
That will upset him.
0-1.
And it's usually a fastball that gets him because the catcher is shifting for that phantom curveball.
No balls and 1 strike to Todd Benzinger. Larry Parrish on deck. 1 ball and 1 strike.
But you know, umpires make themselves vulnerable now. I mean, they're wide open. They used to at least get a little bit behind the catcher. Now they get in that crease in there and they are wide open.
Well, that was for years a major difference between the National League and the American League umpires. Fly ball to shallow center. Henderson is there. The shades are down. 1 away. For years, the National League umpire wearing the inside chest protector always worked inside the hitter and just off the catcher's shoulder, and he was wide open.
Yeah, but not as much as they are now. Now they get in this kneeling position like they do. I mean, they worked inside. They kind of leaned over. These guys, they kneel down like, well, that's where. Now watch where he gets.
And see, he's wearing an inside chest protector.
Right.
Remember, the American League always wore the big balloon.
Jocko used to wear that big balloon. But I mean, these guys. Now watch why he kneels down, and he's wide open.
4-1.
I know one thing. They used to always keep their arms behind them when they umpired. And that makes sense, just like a catcher catching one hand. But Shulak is no different than anybody else. He'll just fold him, put him on his knees, and then take his chances.
1 ball and no strikes.
Look at that.
And that slice to right. Canseco fading to make the catch. Tagging is Burks, and he will move over to third. So Parrish hits it hard to the right fielder, advancing his runner. And with 2 out, the batter will be Spike Owen. I always remember in the National League there was an umpire named Tony Venzen. And I had always heard that the umpire is instructed to carry the ball and strike indicator in his left hand so that when he's going to spin the dial to keep track of balls or strikes, it wouldn't confuse people. If you carry it in your right hand, every time you bring your right hand up, well, naturally it looks like a strike. He's got the indicator.
He's got nothing.
No, he doesn't have an indicator. Well, they used to have an indicator, and they always carried it in their left hand. Anyway, Tony Venzen used the indicator in his right hand, so one day I saw him after having butchered a ball game, kept calling a strike when it was a ball, and I said, gee, Tony, I wish you'd put your indicator in your left hand. He said, I'd like to, but I can't, and he didn't have a thumb on his left hand. He had lost that in an accident. A line drive to Canseco, and that's that. But evidently, John Shulak working balls and strikes off the scoreboard. And at the end of 5, it's 7-4 Boston. Remember, we were wondering where in the world was the indicator, and we hollered down to John Shulak, where is it? He keeps it in the ball bag on his hip. And then he points, I keep it on the scoreboard. It also illustrates how close we are to home plate.
Yeah.
That we can holler to the plate umpire.
Toughest job was getting him to listen to us and hear us. But once he did, that's great. He goes by the scoreboard.
In there to Ron Hasse, who homered in the second inning, hit into a force play in the third. Now, that's where we are right here, and that's pretty close. Comebacker off the glove, slowed down, so behind the bag is Owen to get him.
Ordinarily a base hit, but Hasse's had a couple operations on his knees, and I must say, I'm not defending the catchers. He just took something away.
Oh, sure. But of all the positions, have bad knees and be a catcher. I was watching that young catcher with Philadelphia, Darren Dalton, who had knee surgery. Boy, it must be brutal to make a living as a catcher coming off knee surgeries.
Yeah, and then when those numbers start to double up on the birth certificate, you get up in the morning, it sounds like you're cracking walnuts.
Little looper to right that will fall in front of Evans for the base hit. So Glenn Hubbard is 2 for 3 with a flare to right. That's hit number 7 and number 2 off Jeff Sellers. 7-4 in favor of Boston. We're in the 6th inning. Walt Weiss will be the batter. Weiss single to center and walk. And he's checking with Jimmy Lefebvre to see if they might have a hit and run play on.
Shulock's going over towards the bench for some reason. Unless he's got an equipment adjustment going on here. Going right to our cameraman.
Get that monitor out. Apparently,
oh, the monitor.
They don't like the idea of having a monitor. Yeah. You know, the rules, of course, they don't want some play of controversial nature and then the replay and then to show it in a dugout and incite a team, and we can certainly understand that. Even though John doesn't realize he played a featured part in this telecast.
That's right.
And John is telling Tony La Russa to turn that thing off. Good eye, huh?
Yeah.
Not only on the strike zone, I mean. Pick
Good
that
ears.
off.
Somebody must have said something.
I think it was a year ago or 2 years ago, a ball game. I don't say it was a network game. It was a ball game. And a cameraman was kicked out of the game because he was showing the monitor to a team in the dugout. They threw the cameraman out. Ground ball to the hole, and that's going to be through. And the tying run will be coming to the plate, and that will be Louis Polonia. So the A's are kicking up their heels now. They had 2 men aboard in the 5th inning. Now they have back-to-back singles with 1 out in the 6th. And Joe Morgan kind of restless with his 3-run lead. It can disappear in a hurry, of course, against a team like Oakland.
Can disappear with this little guy in that batter's box last night. He had a home run and hit a triple off the center field wall.
And then for good measure, he had a double. So Luis Polonia with 2 on. The bottom of the A's lineup giving the Sox a bad time. There's a ball loose behind Mike Greenwell.
That's the second one that's come out of the stands.
And you look at the number 8 and 9 hitters. Hubbard is 2 for 3. Weiss is 2 for 2. So the last 2 hitters in the lineup are 4 for 5. Polonia has walked, hit into a force play, and grounded out. And he lifts a fly ball. Greenwell going back on the track to pick it off. And the runners have to scamper back. 2 down in the 6th inning. And now Dave Henderson.
They've been able to make Henderson chase that bad ball the outside part of the plate. He was out on strikes in that 4th inning. He's really not done anything yet.
As we mentioned earlier, last night was the first time this year the A's have lost when Henderson had homered. They're 18-1 in games in which he hits 1 out. And, of course, he represents a tying run. 19 home runs. That's a career high. He also has it in RBIs, doubles, and total bases. Right.
See Gedman just jump out there. Now, Henderson hit a ball last night into the right field seat, so he's got good power to the opposite field, but it was a high fastball. But Gedman, on that first pitch, jumped right out there, outside corner.
0-1 to Dave. 2 on, 2 out in the 6th. 7-4 Boston. 0-2. And, of course, if Henderson gets aboard to extend the inning, a guy who really feels like he has a purpose is on deck. Jose Canseco struck out, lined out single, but was picked off in the 5th inning.
Boy, I wouldn't give him a fastball then. I'd keep throwing that breaking ball because he'll chase. He's been chasing that one. He's even out of the strike zone. Make sure if you miss bad. He shook Gedman off for one sign. It's a big outing for Sellers.
No balls and 2 strikes to Dave Henderson. Hard breaking ball down and away. That's slider, and he's got one.
The reason I say it's a big outing, the trade rumor this week around here has been Kevin Romine and Sellers to Baltimore for Schmidt. So,
and they also mentioned that young catcher in the minors, John Marzano. Of course, this is the time of year for talks. What's the big rumor that Rick Sutcliffe maybe?
That's the one he wanted to get it in closer. He doesn't want to go to 3-2.
2-2 the count to Dave Henderson. Jeff Sellers picking up. He's the pitcher of record. Oil Can Boyd went 2 2/3 innings. So deuce is wild on Henderson, and it's 7-4 Boston, top of the 6th. Wouldn't bite. Tough pitch to take.
That's the one he's been chasing. He laid off, and now it all swings over to Henderson's side.
Especially when you have Canseco hitting behind him. If you're Henderson, I guess you got to be looking fastball. So the runners ready to go. Hubbard from second, Weiss from first with 2 out. 3-2. Hot ground ball, bad hop. It knocks Boggs down. His throw is not in time, and the bases are loaded for Canseco. And that thing really was a great ability of Boggs.
He caught it barehanded. He caught it barehanded is what he did, Ben. And that thing, I'm telling you, that's got to be hurting him. Now watch what happens here. It's a bad hop, and I think he catches it barehanded. He does. I mean, it took such a bad hop. That's why he couldn't get anything on the throw. His hand was numb from catching it barehanded. And now you see they're over talking to him.
Well, if he doesn't catch it barehanded, that ball is down the line. And since the runners are going, at least 1, maybe 2. And now Joe Morgan will apparently go to the pen. In talking about the Boston bullpen, Lee Smith was not here yesterday because his wife gave birth to a baby boy in Castor, Louisiana. Lee went there to see his wife and newborn, then watched last night's game on his satellite dish, and Mike Boddicker is going to come in a 7-4 lead to hold on to it. Lee Smith is here. Bob Stanley did a great job in relief last night, but Stanley has pitched in 3 of the last 4 Red Sox games. And so Mike Boddicker is coming in. Boddicker making his first relief appearance of the year. Sellers going out. Now, let's face it, the bad hop, had it been played normally, that's the 3rd out. Sellers is out of the inning, but it was hit awfully hard.
It was hit hard, and it's things like that that careers hinge on. And I must say this for Boggs. He made a tremendous play there, and that's the one thing he prides himself on. He takes a lot of ground balls. When you talk about Wade Boggs, they talk about his bat, rightly so, but he has made himself into a tremendous fielder. And watch that ball take this vicious hop, and he ends up catching it bare hand. Talk about being knocked down. And when he came up to throw, he just couldn't get enough on that throw because his hand is still a little bit numb.
So the bases are loaded. 2 out. Sellers is in the dugout, and Mike Boddicker coming up. In looking back at Boddicker's career, the last time he relieved would be for Baltimore in 1983.
He went 5 2/3 innings on Thursday against Seattle, so this is a bit of a surprise.
So with the bases loaded, thanks to the bad hop single, here comes Canseco. What a spot to come in to make your first relief appearance in 5 years, and you do it against the league's home run leader, Jose Canseco. For good measure, you do it in Fenway Park. You're leading by 3, and Canseco, by the way, has never hit one, never had a jackpot. He's 1 for 3, single last time out. And a little curveball hit back to the box. How do you do? And that's the story of the top of the 6th. Quite a moment for Mike Boddicker to make his first relief appearance since 1983 with the bases loaded. Throw that big spinner to Jose Canseco and have a comebacker.
I'm surprised Canseco jumped on that first pitch. I really am. At least get a look, but I guess it looked too good.
Gedman, a hopper to shortstop. Weiss up with it and throws him out. And he lost his protective shin guard while going down the line. He ran right out of his equipment. So it'll be retrieved by Al Bunbury. See it on his right leg. You heard of guys or horses anyway throwing a shoe. He's going to throw his equipment.
Where does he lose it?
Somewhere along here. There it goes.
Yeah, those big legs. Will he swing at the first pitch, Wade Boggs, or not?
Ball 1. Boggs has single to left, grounded to first. That's when they missed the tag play at second, and then lined out to right field in the 3rd inning. 1 for 3. Check swing foul. I tell you, you talk about his eye-hand coordination, and you always talk about it the way he swings the bat. But the very fact that he could barehand a bad hopper at the last second instinctively and hit hard enough to knock him down, that changed that inning around.
It certainly did.
Boy.
So his concentration is so great, especially in batting practice. And Walt Riniak, who is his guru, he just stays on him constantly. Head down, swing down, head down. And then every other pitch, it seems like, says batting title. Head down, batting title. Head down, batting title. Constantly reminding him.
2-1. Fouled away. Wade Boggs with his ball club leading 7-4, and Joe's got a bat.
There's Riniak.
And there's Riniak. Ground ball wide to first. That took a bad hop. If that ball stays down, it's playable. So turnabout is fair play.
Hubbard, the Oakland second baseman, was talking about the infield. He said last night it was very hard, like they poured concrete. I said, well, is it because it's hard or because it's caked? He said it's just hard and it's just rough. And we've seen enough bad hops to prove that out.
So a 1-out single by Boggs brings up Marty Barrett, who was walked, singled, and grounded out. Marty 1 for 2, each side with 9 hits. And the Sox leading 7-4, bottom of the 6th. Ball 1. Friends, once again, we remind our viewers we'll be selecting the NBC Miller Lite Player of the Game at the conclusion of the ball game. From the looks of things, it will be a hitter.
Good chance.
Right. 1-1 to Marty. Eric Plunk picking up the pieces for Todd Burns, who went 4 innings. Big right-hander trying to hold Boston quiet. One and one to Marty Barrett.
You know, I try to watch hitters. It's just an old habit, because sometimes they give the hit and run sign. Now, Marty will look at his coach, and I was wondering if it's when he waves his bat. Now, the last time he waved it 4 times when he gets ready. I'll start to count them for you. 1, 2, 3, 4.
That would be kind of a bad sign, though, wouldn't it? I mean,
oh yeah, but you can't believe anybody.
You're the guy at first. You'd be trying to count the times.
Oh no, it's what he does with it.
2 and 1.
I mean, sometimes a guy will say, well, as soon as I do that, you be ready the next thing I do.
That's your key. Yeah?
That would be the key. But you watch all that, so you can go bonkers doing that.
I remember we had a coach once, and he would give signs the way he held the bat, that he had arthritic fingers like a bad catcher. And you're up there, you couldn't see how many fingers he had on the bat. 3 and 1 to Marty Barrett. He's going. And there's a hit-and-run single to left field. Boggs to second and holding as Polonia ready to fire.
Now, you remember early in the game we said rule of thumb is with the left-hand hitter, the second baseman holds, and the right-hand hitter, the shortstop holds. Weiss was covering on that because Marty Barrett hits a lot to right field, and yet Barrett was able to hit exactly the spot that was vacated. Those are things that advanced scouting tells you. Weiss and the Oakland A's went against the so-called book. They had Weiss covering and Marty Barrett. It was a base hit anyhow, but if it's a ground ball, it goes through the vacated slot.
It shows you, too, what a little rest will do for Marty Barrett. He was in a terrific slump. They sat him down a couple of days against Detroit. He was 8 for 17 coming into this game. He's 2 for 3 today plus a walk. So he's had 10 hits in his last 20 at-bats. And with 2 on and 1 out, here's Dewey Evans. Strike. Evans flied to right, tripled to right, grounded to short. 1 for 3. His triple scored Barrett in the second inning. And then he came home on a double by Mike Greenwell. Boggs and Barrett waiting to be picked up with 1 out. One and 1. Little breaking ball, but he missed with it, so now he's behind 2 balls and 1 strike. The Red Sox trying to beat Oakland and put Oakland to a 3-game losing streak. They haven't had that happen since before the All-Star game.
And I know those Twins fans up there talking about, well, Oakland never loses, and should the Red Sox win and Viola going for them tonight, they're going to have high hopes.
2-1 to Dwight. Now he's a pitch away from loading him up for Greenwell. So on the top of the inning, we saw Canseco get a shot, and in a minute, Plunk is fooling around with dynamite.
Plunk had some trouble landing there, like he lost his balance.
Fouled away, and the count 3-2. 3-2 and 1 out. You can see that Evans has been blazing hot, but isn't that something? There's the peaks and valleys for you.
Well, we caught him right after that 22 at-bats and no hits. He had that big day for us.
That 0 for 22 hit him on the road, as well as some food poisoning. So Boggs and Barrett taking their leads. Full count, 1 out. The runners are not going. Got him. So Evans strikes out. And with 2 down, the batter will be Mike Greenwell.
I think Plunk got away with the pitch because it was up and Evans saw it, and it's one of those you talk to yourself going back to the bench.
Mike Greenwell today walked, doubled, and flied to center. He walked and scored a run. His double knocked in a run. 1 for 2. And fouled it away off third out of play. Red Sox 7. A's 4. Bottom of the 6th inning. Last night, Red Sox won 7-6. Tomorrow, Wes Gardner and Storm Davis. Final game of the series. 0-1. And that's it down the left field line, slicing in the corner, foul. Another full house here at Fenway. In looking at the big crowds here, we were talking about Oakland. They're expecting to draw about 2-4 here in Boston. However, on the other side of the coin, there are 3 teams on the outside of the candy store looking in. They might not draw 1 million this year. And the 3 are Seattle, the Chicago White Sox, and Atlanta. 1 and 2.
Boy, I tell you, I was watching the game in Atlanta, and they take those shots. You talk about private games. 2 or 3 people.
And once you get into the summertime in Atlanta, you get into August, September, there's a fan loose in the field. But when you get into September in the South, they're talking football. Okay, the 30-some-odd thousand will sit patiently and wait while one man decides to be overly exuberant. 1-2 the count. Mike Greenwell, 2 on, 2 out in the 6th. 7-4 Boston.
You know, did you think Morgana might have lost a couple steps in Chicago?
I hated
slowing
to
down.
see that.
I hated to see that.
Yeah, she's slowing down.
She is slowing down. She's about 2 steps slower. Morgana.
It happens to the best
of us.
Yeah.
When that guy caught her, and that guy wasn't exactly right out of the Jekyll.
You think a bust of her will go to Cooperstown? 1-2 the count to Mike Greenwell. Ball 2. I take it your silence means no. So this is wild on Mike Greenwell.
No comment.
Boggs at second, Barrett at first. 7-4 Sox in the 6th. Just a quiet afternoon at Fenway. Now he goes 3-2. You talk about a high wire act. Going 3-2 with Evans, now 3-2 with Greenwell.
They want a decision from the third base umpire, and Mike Riley says, well, he called it. What do you want from me?
So a full count and 2 down, so Boggs and Barrett will be going, and Mike Greenwell waiting. Fastball, got him. So Greenwell unable to lift it. Evans and Greenwell strike out with 2 on. It's still 7-4 Sox at the end of 6. And we'll be right back after these messages from your local station. The new daddy, Lee Smith, going to his battle stations in the Red Sox bullpen. His son, born yesterday, Lee Smith Jr. He has a daughter, Nikita Diane, and wife Diane doing well along with Lee Jr. The big guy at 6'6", 245. He'll be 31 in December, and he's loosening up. Mark McGuire will start it, then Don Baylor and Carney Lansford. McGuire doubled to drive in a run in the first inning, but struck out and flied out since. Remember, that's Mike Boddicker out there on the hill in relief of Sellers, who in turn had relieved Boyd. Unless my numbers are incorrect, first relief job since 1983. Off speed and a strike. Mike Boddicker, 9-14, and he's 3-2 since coming to Boston. That's hit and slicing to right. Evans, however, coming in and over. 1 down in the 7th inning. Today's game is brought to you by Mitsubishi Motors, who invite you to come see the full line of cars and trucks. Mitsubishi, suddenly the obvious choice. Don Baylor fouled out, hit by a pitch and walk, so he's 0 for 1. The Red Sox 7 runs, 10 hits. Oakland 4 runs, 9 hits. In looking at the 3 contenders in the East, Boston, Detroit, and the Yankees, Boston still has 2 series left with the Yankees. Detroit has 2 series left with the Yankees, but Boston or Detroit, they're finished playing each other. Two and 1. And when you look at those 3 contenders, they've been pretty much dead in the water. Maybe it's the dog days of August, but as you can see, you don't have a strong club right now. Baylor, a 1-out walk. For Oakland, it's been a frustrating day. They have not been retired in order. They've had at least 1 man get on base in every inning, but they have only 4 runs and they're trailing by 3. And that's got to get La Russa pacing a little bit.
It's got Bill Fisher coming out of the dugout to talk to Bodiger. I mean, Bodiger's usually a guy with pretty good control, but to Baylor, he wasn't even close. And there's Lee Smith. He's getting ready to come in.
So Bill Fisher counseling Boddicker. Carney Lansford will be the batter. The Oakland A's have left 9 men on in the first 6 innings. That's a dangerous way to play Oakland.
Very dangerous. Base on balls. It cost them last night. And today, they're not able to cash it in.
They've had 5 walks and a hit batter.
5 straight bad ones for Bodiger.
1 ball and no strikes. Carney Lansford hit a home run leading off the 2nd, walked in the 3rd, and struck out in the 5th. Off speed, big spinner in there for a strike. 1-1. So it's been Boyd, Sellers, and Boddicker, and the A's with Burns and Plunk. Slow curve and a half swing. Owen DeBarrett for the force play, and that's the 2nd out. Boy, that's a tantalizing pitch.
I tell you, that shows you how slow it is and how effective, because Lansford started to swing. Now he tries to hold up, but his bat's in the zone. Now he wants to hold up, and it's too late.
So we have 2 down in the 7th inning, and the batter is Ron Hasse. Hasse homered back in the 2nd inning. Hit into a force play against Sellers, and then hit one back off Sellers' glove and was thrown out by Spike Owen. 0-1. Seven runs, 10 hits for Boston, 4 runs, 9 hits for Oakland, including 2 home runs. And the home runs came with the bases empty. So the A's have had 2 home runs and a double. The Red Sox have had 4 doubles and a triple. There goes the runner. The pitch high. The throw is even higher. So Lansford steals second base. Well, Carney is 21st stolen base.
That's a case of having a green light, getting a jump that he knows he's going to make it, and taking off, because the score certainly doesn't dictate it. 7-4 trailing, left-hand hitter up there, Ron Hasse.
2 balls and 1 strike, the count to Hasse. And he promptly pulls one right down in the right field corner. It one-hops the wall. The run is in, and it's a long single, as was expertly played by Dwight Evans, and I think that's going to be off of Boddicker. Yep. Evans made a fine play to barehand the carom, and Boddicker's going to come out. They didn't really like his stuff when he was pitching to Baylor. And now here's Joe Morgan. So Lee Smith, who went down to the bullpen before the inning started, knew he was getting ready. Boddicker making the brief appearance, but what an appearance. Boddicker came in and made 1 pitch to get Jose Canseco with 2 out and the bases loaded, and that's the pitch that he'll be remembered for today. It is 7-5 Boston. We'll be back. If anybody's going to play right field well in Boston, it will be Dewey Evans, who's played over 2,100 games for the Sox. Watch him barehand the carom that might have gotten by a less experienced outfielder. And by doing that, and with that great arm, why, Ron Hasse remained at first base, although Hasse apparently wasn't running that well anyway.
When he rounded first base, he kind of pulled up lame, and Barry Weinberg, the trainer, just asked him to take a little trot down first base line. He stays in the game, and now they're working on the mound. The big hole there at the landing area, and Lee Smith just wasn't happy, and so they're having to fill it in.
That's one of the problems if you are a relief pitcher, and particularly you get into a game like this. He is the 6th pitcher to come into this game, so the mound has really been changed a bit by Messrs. Boyd, Sellers, Boddicker, Burns, and Plunk, and now Big Lee comes in. And being a fastball pitcher, I'm sure he wants a slope on that mound.
Well, it's not so much the slope, Ben. It's the landing area. It's where he lands. If that hole is dug in to where, say, his the front part of his foot lands in that hole, it's going to throw him off balance. He wants to land solid. That's what he wants to do.
In looking at the big guy, as we mentioned before, he is 6'6". Now, Plunk is about 6'5", so they would have, I would assume, similar strides.
Of course, a big guy like that, he certainly would like to have a slope. He'd like to have it as high as he can to make that hitter feel like he's hitting uphill, but it's that landing area where you land. That part can really be treacherous.
I think it's supposed to be like a 10-degree grade, and in the old days, as we duck in a couple of scores, if you could use the mound the way you wished, if you had a breaking ball staff, then you had a flat mound so that your front foot would hit the ground sooner and you could get a little bend to the ball. If you had a fastball throwing mound, then you wanted a big fall off. What's that principle? The fulcrum, whatever it is, and you would help a hard thrower. Here, the landing area has finally been treated to Lee Smith's liking, and we're ready.
Lee Smith, good fastball and good slider, but he relies on that fastball.
Red Sox 7, A's 5, and a big man against a little man. Lee Smith and Glenn Hubbard. Ball 1, and of course, as that gets away from Gedman, but Hasse is already a questionable runner, is not going to gamble late in the game.
And it just handcuffed Gedman. He boxed it is what he did. He doesn't drop many pitches. That one, it just kind of moved enough to where he just boxed it.
1 ball, no strikes to Glenn Hubbard. Hubbard is 2 for 3. Does it bother you the more pitchers you handle in a game? In other words, Gedman is now handling his 4th pitcher in 7 innings.
Well, it's not an easy day. Let's put it that way.
Right. 1-1.
Because you got different guys coming out there. You know, Oil Can gives you 5-6 different pitches, and Sellers was wild with the slider. Bodiger came in with that big balloon. Now this guy's going to come in there and throw that 90-plus fastball and slider.
Thank goodness for no knuckleballs, right? If you're a catcher, you get 5 or 6 pitches. 1 ball, 1 strike. Foul back, 1-2. One year was a long time ago. The Washington Senators had 5 pitchers who threw knuckleballs.
Dutch Leonard, Roger Wolf, Johnny Niggling, Mickey Hefner. That's 4. I think it was just 4. That was it.
4. I thought you'd be the catcher catching a knuckleball
Rick Farrell.
staff. Right.
They sent him to the Hall of Fame, put him in the intensive care section.
1-2, the count to Glenn Hubbard. 2 down, a run in the 7th. 7-5 Boston, and Hubbard fouling him off. Hubbard born at Hahn Air Force Base in West Germany.
I have to snicker because it was the days before the big glove, too, with Farrell.
Oh, what a time.
That tells you about a man's ability.
Was there another catcher on that staff, like Al Evans?
Evans, Jake Early, I think, was there, too.
Oh, what a job. 1-2 to Glenn Hubbard. Boy, the breaking ball just danced away. Hubbard showing some discipline. 2-2 to the big guy from Castor, Louisiana. He left there this morning. Flew to Boston, and here he is working. Hubbard trying to extend the inning. Walt Weiss on deck. Ball 3, the throw down to first, not in time. Benzinger way down the line.
Dangerous play when Benzinger's not even close to that bag. Was percentages, I mean, what percentages to throw it over there? Because Benzinger was holding Hasse and then backed off. And he's still behind him.
Hasse now with a 3-2 count will be going. Someone with leg problems, that's a little bit of a break. And he has a big lead. In fact, Smith doesn't like it. He gets off the rubber.
And he forced Benzinger to come in.
Little cat and mouse at first. 3-2 the count to Hubbard. There he goes. And it's a little fly ball into shallow right. Barrett out, Evans in. It's Barrett. 1 run, 1 hit, 1 left. It's 7-5 Boston in the 7th. Here's another edition of Characters of the Game. The A's and the Red Sox started out as if they were going to dismantle Fenway Park. But you see, order has been pretty much restored, except for the run in the 7th. So in the bottom of the 7th, it's 7-5 Boston. and Ellis Burks. 4-1. Burks, Benzinger, and Parrish in that order.
You don't hear too much about Ellis Burks, but he's another one, I tell you, boy. Sign of the future.
1 ball and no strikes. Remember that quote about just when will he become the most valuable player, next year or the year after?
Well, Baseball America, they voted him in a poll. I think it was Tracy Ringlesby that had the poll, and he was voted the best defensive outfielder. Put him with Greenwell and Benzinger and a couple kids that Lou Gorman was talking about, and some good times coming to Fenway Park.
Well, he's 2 for 3 today, a couple of doubles to fatten up his average at Fenway. He came into this game hitting .346 here at Fenway Park, and he's 2 for 3. Time. Burks with 2 grand slams this year. And he lifts one towards the monster, and at the base of it is Polonia to make the catch. Friends, this telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball, may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. 1 down in the 7th, and Todd Benzinger, the batter, double to left, robbed of a hit a ball hard but right at Henderson and flied to center. So Todd 1 for 3. And a 1-hopper banged at Weiss. So 2 down in the 7th inning. And the batter will be Larry Parrish, who struck out, flied to center, and lined to right.
I think Don Baylor had probably the best description of a DH. He said it's like being a hot and cold water faucet. As you get up to bat, your adrenaline is flowing, and when it's over, you got to turn it off and go sit down.
And sometimes it's still dripping hot water. Remember Darrell Evans last week sitting in the dugout and stewing,
Right.
waiting for his next at-bat? 4-1.
A lot of them go up into the clubhouse and watch it on TV, swing the bat. A lot of them ride a bicycle, something to stay busy and active.
1-0 the count to Larry Parrish. 2 balls and no strikes.
Now, see, Plunk is not happy with that landing area. You can see he's fooling with it, and he made that last pitch. Kind of looked down.
2 balls and no strikes. Three and 0. Eric Plunk picking up for the starter Todd Burns, who went 4 innings. So Plunk working his 3rd inning, and he has 2 out in the 7th. He's done very well. Right. In fact, Eric has allowed 2 hits since he's been in there, because remember Burns gave up the double to Burks leading off the 5th inning, and Plunk came in, retired the side, gave up 2 hits in the 6th, nothing else, and has gotten 2 outs in the 7th. Breaking ball in there.
And he made 2 pretty good pitches. He's got Parrish talking to himself. That last one looked like Hasse, a little sleight of hand there.
So a full count to Larry Parrish. Ground ball to short. Weiss is on it. And a very easy inning and a nice job for Plunk. He goes 3 innings, allowing 2 hits and nothing else. But at the end of 7, it remains Boston 7, Oakland 5. Next Saturday, join NBC Sports for the Major League Baseball Game of the Week. Dave Winfield and the Yankees, who will start today's festivities, 4 games behind Detroit and 1 game behind the Red Sox. They'll visit Anaheim Stadium to play the California Angels. They've been playing pretty well recently. Or others will see the Cubs versus the Braves. It'll all start with Marv Albert and Major League Baseball, an inside look. That's next Saturday on NBC, the home of the 1988 World Series. The paid attendance today for the 39th consecutive game. The Red Sox have drawn over 30,000. 34,372. 34,372.
They support the townies.
So they're estimating about 2.4 million here, and it looks like Oakland will draw 2 million at home for the first time. Big year. A strike to the leadoff man, Walt Weiss. Then it'll be Louis Polonia and Dave Henderson. 8th inning, 7-5 Boston.
Lee Smith doesn't come inside too often. He's only hit one batter. Likes to stay on that outside part of the plate. Not that far out.
1-1. For which all the hitters give thanks, I'm sure.
Oh. Say what you want, but when a guy's that big, he makes you think.
They're going to check no swing, says Mike Riley. Two balls and one strike to count. Weiss trying to get aboard. It has been a wasteful day so far for the A's. Ground ball back at first, scooped up nicely by Benzinger to make the play. That ball came very close to hitting the bag, and that can be a distraction for a fielder. It just missed, but Benzinger never batted an eye. One away.
He just stayed right with it, gets over there, and one hands it. And once he's got it, it's an easy out. You mentioned the Cubs before, Vin. Second and third night game Monday and Tuesday against Houston in Wrigley Field.
And in thinking about lights at Wrigley Field and looking at Lee Smith, no more for National League hitters. That fearsome time, a 3 o'clock game, and late in that game when it's about 5:15, 5:30, and they would bring this man in from the bullpen to pitch in the shadows of Wrigley. It was terrifying.
Enough to file a grievance.
1 ball and no strikes. Lee Smith, the 4th Boston pitcher, trying to shut down Oakland here. Boy, Bob Stanley certainly did a great job last night, including striking out the side in the 9th inning.
He's had a problem with his hand. He suffered an injury off-season, cut it, and then scar tissue broke. But boy, he's been tough.
1-2 to count.
Just rearing back and pumping, which is what he does.
Polonia, who had that big night last night, double, triple home run, is 0 for 3 today. And he hits one to left. Greenwell, however, has room. 2 down in the 8th inning. That'll bring up Dave Henderson. And, of course, from now on, you get somebody on, the next hitter represents the tying run. And when you're talking the power of a Henderson, Canseco, McGuire, it's realistic to consider the on-deck hitter the possible tying run. So for Henderson, this is a big at-bat. He is grounded to third, flied to center, struck out, and then had that bad hop single. The bare hand stab by Boggs and knocked him down. The bases were loaded, and then Boddicker came in, and Canseco hit the ball back to the box on the first pitch. Red Sox led in the game 1-0. Canseco is just waiting. Boston took a 4-1 lead, only to have Oakland tie it up. Boston came right back with 3 to make it 7-4. Oakland got a run in the 7th to get close, 7-5, and here we are in the 8th. 2-0 the count. We're talking about Lee Smith and the twilight 3 o'clock games in Chicago. In 1987, if you remember, the All-Star game was played in Oakland, and he pitched 3 scoreless innings in the twilight of that game.
Remember it well.
The winning pitcher.
What a great game.
2 balls and no strikes in there. Canseco has got to be chewing on himself in the on-deck circle. Remember, he was picked off first base in the 5th inning. And then, with the bases loaded in the 6th, hit the first pitch back to the box.
Whoop. Oh, he came inside that time. And I'll tell you something, that'll make you adjust your helmet.
I could just hear Henderson say, some friends of mine said, you said he never comes inside.
This just got away from him is what that did. I mean, that's a perfect spot to put it.
All right, 3-1 to Dave. Strike, 3-2. So this is a very big pitch, considering that the Major League home run leader is on deck. 3-2, 2 out in the 8th. 7-5 Boston. Got him. And for the first time today, the Oakland Athletics are retired in order. Beautiful day in Boston. Temperatures in the 70s, a crowd of over 34,000, and it's quite a game, and it is far from over. The Red Sox are leading 7-5 as they come up in the bottom of the 8th. But just in case you are not keeping score and you wonder about Oakland's chances in the 9th, they will have Jose Canseco, Mark McGwire, and Don Baylor.
And any one of those three, when they walk in the batter's box, are in scoring position.
Right. Spike Owen will start it off. He'll be followed by Rich Gedman and then Wade Boggs. 7-5 Sox in the 8th. Spike grounded to second, single to left, fly to right. 1 for 3. He has a little 5-game hitting streak. He extended it with a base hit to left field in the 3rd inning. 1 ball and no strike. Greg Cadaret began to throw, the left-hander, down in the Oakland bullpen. There he is, but Clunk has done a fine job. 2 hits and nothing else in his last 3 innings. Eric now falling behind. 2 balls, no strikes. Ball 3. Eric with a record of 5-2 and an earned run average of 3. That's in there. 3-1. To Spike Owen, opening up the 8th inning. And he drills it to right center, but that's a deep part, and Henderson is right there. 1 away. That'll bring up Rich Gedman. Walked and scored a run. That was the play, and of course, as the game has dwindled down to a 2-run game, that was a big play. Gedman walked. Boggs hit a hopper to McGwire, who stepped on first. That removed the force. They had to tag him. Only Walt Weiss didn't know that McGwire had stepped on first, and he threw it back, thinking it was a force play. So since Gedman was allowed to stay at second base, Barrett then singled him in. And in a 2-run game, that's a big play.
Big play.
7 runs, 10 hits, no errors for Boston. 5 runs, 10 hits, no errors for Oakland. On 1. 1 ball, 1 strike. To repeat, Canseco, McGwire, and Baylor in the 9th against Lee Smith. One and 2. Fouled away off third, and that will go out of play. Way out in front of it. So Gedman unable to hold back. Down he goes. That's 7 in a row retired by Eric Plunk since the base hit by Marty Barrett. It was also his 3rd strikeout.
Good curveball. He not only took something off that curveball, but he had really good rotation on it. Watch it break down.
So Gedman is gone, and with 2 out, the batter is Wade Boggs. 0-1. Boggs single to left, grounded to first. That was the play where they missed Gedman. Lined out to right and single to right. So he's 2 for 4. Two balls, no strikes. After this series, the Red Sox have 3 more games on this homestand. They'll host the California Angels. Then they have to make a very important road trip going out to the West Coast. That's going to be hit fair in the corner. And for Boggs, he's got his 3rd hit as he goes into second base with a double.
Man is awesome. He just needs a small area to hit that ball because he just waits for it, and he went with it, and boom.
Unless you've tried to really hit a baseball, you can't appreciate just how great he is to be able to do what he does.
He's going inside out all the way, and they play him towards the left field line.
So a 2-out double by Boggs, and Marty Barrett trying to pick him up. He has walked, single, grounded out, and single. So Barrett 2 for 3, and he has 10 hits in his last 20 at-bats. Time for the moment. When the Red Sox leave Boston following the 3 games with California, they go to Seattle, then they play 3 in Oakland. Then they play 4 in California, and for good measure, they have 3 more in Baltimore. So that's a very, very important trip for a ball club that has excelled at home and stumbled on the road. Strike. Of course, when we say excelled, we again bring up the fact that they're 4-3 on this homestand. They're 6-10 since that great 19-1. And they have 17 games left at home and 23 on the road.
Let me add this, Vin. They're 63-0 when they're leading going into the 9th.
0-1 the count. And that's sliced down the right field line in the corner. Foul ball. It hit just the edge of the stand. So Barrett comes back and tries it again, and Boggs returns to second. To repeat, when they get to the 9th inning, the A's will have Jose Canseco, Mark McGuire, and Don Baylor. So the Sox would just as soon go into the 9th, increasing their lead.
Against Lee Smith, so you got some fastball hitters against fastball pitching.
You got the high rent district.
You got it. There's no linoleum on those floors.
0-2 the count to Marty Barrett. Lee Smith resting before the 9th inning challenge. Remember, Barrett, despite that closed stance, turned and singled sharply to left in the 6th inning. In there. He'll do no singling in this at-bat. He is caught looking. 4 strikeouts for Eric Plunk. No runs, a hit, a man left. A great bit of relief job for the big right-hander. And at the end of 8, 7-5 Sox, Canseco, McGuire, and Baylor coming up. 9th inning, we'll watch a big man try to climb a big mountain now. Lee Smith facing Canseco, McGuire, and Baylor. And the Red Sox leading 7-5. Boston 7 runs, 11 hits. Oakland 5 runs, 10 hits. For Oakland, they have not lost 3 in a row since before the All-Star break. And if they lose this one, this will be their 3rd straight defeat. If they lose this one, it would be only the 6th time this year they've lost a game when they've out-homered the opponents. Canseco struck out, lined out, singled, and was picked off and hit back to the box. Canseco had one big look at the game. Bases loaded, 2 out in the 6th inning. Mike Boddicker brought in to relieve. Must have looked like a balloon to Canseco in the first pitch. He hit it right back to Mike, and that was that. Another one. 0-2.
Say, he just looks in for the sign, and he's not wide-eyed when he does that. It's almost like he's squinting, and when he does that, that doesn't help you as a hitter.
0-2. Remember how he appeared to freeze Dave Henderson, the 2-1 pitch at the chin, and he came right back to punch him out. Canseco very dangerous at any time, and 12 of his home runs have come with 2 strikes. And the count is 0-2, and as we mentioned earlier, they say he's the best 2-strike hitter on the team. Got it.
He may be, but not against Lee Smith. He just reared back and blew it by him.
And there's no way you're going to be a 2-strike hitter when you're caught looking, and the crowd loves it. 1 away.
He's got him shaking his head, and there was nothing but hard stuff. He just watched it all away. And Shulock, much like Dale Ford, making the call, sold it. He was sure of it, and he boomed it out.
Second strikeout for Lee Smith. Here's Mark McGwire. For Mark McGwire, this is his first at-bat ever against Lee Smith. He doubled to left and struck out, flied to center and flied to right. The A's left 10 men in the first 7 innings, and of course that's really come back to haunt them now. 1-1. Don Baylor on deck. Ball 2.
Of all the pitches we've seen, Smith is the only one that we can hear the ball actually pop when it hits into the catcher's mitt.
Big man is working. Lee 4-4 with 18 saves. Strike. 2-2. Well, he's getting that hard slider over, and that really makes him tough then.
And he's not only throwing hard, he's spotting it well. He's keeping it on that outside corner. He's only hit 1 batter. He doesn't like to come inside, although he certainly came inside on Henderson. He's usually right on the corner. There he goes again inside. That'll keep you honest.
Now let's see. He struck out Henderson looking. He struck out Canseco looking. And now he has McGwire 3-2. That's not a bad week's work.
No.
Strike out Henderson, Canseco, and McGwire.
Tell you, it'll save your baseball, the balls, the expense on that, because nobody has even hit a foul ball, it seems like.
There's one.
There's one.
For Don Baylor.
They just broke the slump. That's the first contact that's been made.
Last night, Bob Stanley struck out the side, although he hit Canseco. Now Lee Smith struck out Henderson to end the 8th. Strikes out Canseco and McGwire in the 9th. The crowd on its feet, and the count 0-1 to Baylor. Strike 2 to Baylor. And now you know what they want here. Everybody up, including the ball boy.
This crowd will make the call for you.
Oh, and how. No balls, 2 strikes. You talk about a crowd seeing something with its eyes. They all saw a strike. 1-2. 2-2. So deuce is wild, and Baylor wants the plate umpire, John Shulock, to look at the ball. Although Canseco and McGwire have had good looks at it, he'll put a new one in play. 7-5 Boston, 9th inning.
I think he just put the cleanest of the 2 in there.
On deck, Carney Lansford. Deuces wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. Sox leading by 2 in the 9th. Three and 2.
Well,
Joe's about ready to pitch.
Yeah, he's rubbing up the ball. Here it comes, man. He's got to throw that fastball right down the middle with all he's got. If he's going to get Baylor going to get on, it's got to be that.
Fouled away upstairs. Hard fastball at the knees. Interesting, too, if the game ends now, it would mean the first victory for Jeff Sellers, and it would be the first loss for Todd Burns. But this one isn't over yet. 3 and 2. High fly ball. It is playable. Greenwell is there. That's it. Handshakes all around in the Boston dugout and on the field. Thin gray line filing back to the dressing room for Oakland. So for the first time since before the All-Star break, the A's have lost 3 straight. For the Sox, they've now won 5 out of 8 on the homestand, and they apply a little pressure to Detroit. The Tigers hosting the White Sox tonight. This week's NBC Miller Lite Player of the Game is Wade Boggs. Miller Lite happy to present a check for $1,000 in the name of Wade Boggs to the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. Wade had 2 singles and a double and made a big play on a bad hopper hit by Dave Henderson in the 6th inning. The total 7 runs, 11 hits, and no errors for Boston. 5 runs, 10 hits, and no errors for the Oakland A's. Jeff Sellers, the winner. He is 1 and 6. He was in relief of Oil Can Boyd. Todd Burns, the starter for Oakland, the loser. He's 5 and 1, and a save in capital letters for Big Lee Smith.
He did what he was asked to do, come in and just take charge, and he did it with a good fastball and a good slider. And I tell you, managers love that. It'll make a good team greater when you got that guy coming out of the pen to do what Lee Smith did.
He came out of the pen and retired 7 in a row, striking out 3 of the last 4, much to the delight of this crowd of 34,372. Friends, the Major League Baseball Game of the Week has been brought to you by Toyota. There's quality, then there's Toyota quality. Who could ask for anything more? By today's Howard Johnson, we're changing a lot of minds. And by Lowenbrau, German for the Lion's Brew. 600 years of Bavarian heritage for a smooth, hearty taste. We'll be back to Fenway Park and more after these messages from your local station. It was a wild ball game, at least at the outset. Oakland scored a run, Polonia walked, and McGuire doubled him in. The Red Sox came back and sent 8 men to the plate and scored 4, only to have Oakland return, get back-to-back home runs by Carney Lansford and Ron Hasse, and they added yet another on a couple of base hits to tie it up. And in the bottom of the 2nd inning, the Sox exploded for a walk, a single, a triple, and a double, and they took a 7-4 lead and were never headed. But at the end of 2 innings, it looked like it would also never end, as each side taking shots at the pitcher. Then Oakland added a run in the 7th inning to get close, 7-5, and meanwhile the Sox stopped completely after the 2nd inning. In fact, after the 2nd inning, they had a few hits but nothing else to show for it. They do have their leadoff man to show for it, Wade Boggs, who continues, among other things, to plague Oakland. Wade had 2 singles and a double, so he had 3 hits today. He's hitting over 400 at Fenway Park against Oakland, and he's hitting over 380 for the year against Fenway. So, Wade, I guess the first thing for you is welcome home.
Thanks, Vin. It's I've had my troubles on the road, but it's always nice to come back to Fenway Park.
Really, we sit here and marvel at your prowess with the bat, and we wonder, how in the world can you have trouble at all with the bat?
Well, it's I've got a different stroke when I go on the road. I don't have the luxury of taking the wall with me, and I've got to improvise a little bit.
You also, Wade, Walt Riniak works with you just diligently. You know, keep head down, batting title. Head down, batting title. What's that all about?
Well, when Walt, we play a little game with each other. When he says batting title, I've got to hit a ball, line drive through the hole and shortstop. And when I do that, Walt knows I'm swinging the bat well.
Wade, we always talk about Wade Boggs and his bat, his ability to get base hits. However, the key play perhaps of the entire game was in the 6th inning. When Dave Henderson hits a scorcher, it looks like it's going to be the 3rd out. It suddenly takes a bad bounce, almost hits you in the face. You get your bare hand up just about at your right shoulder, and you wind up on your numbers. Then you get up and gamely try to throw to first, and Henderson beats the throw. Tell us about being at the other end of that bad hop.
Well, it was a 3-2 count and 2 outs, and I knew the runners were going, and Henderson hit me a ground ball that was staying close to the ground. I went down on one leg, and when I came to field the ball, it took a bad hop, and it was heading right for my face, and the only thing I had left to do was stick my hand up, and when I barehanded it, it knocked me down, and it scared me so much I didn't even think of getting off the ground. And then when I got up, I saw Henderson was only halfway, and I really had no feeling left in my hand, and I threw the ball. I was lucky not just to throw it away.
You know, you can't practice a bad hop, so it really does have to scare you.
It scared me to death. It was aiming right at my face.
Have you ever taken one between the horns on a bad hop?
No, I'll be thankful, and hopefully I never will.
I hope so, for your sake.
Wade, let me play kind of a mind game, because watching batting practice, how you concentrate. The last time you came up, Plunks the pitcher, what was in your mind before you went in that batter's box? Talk us through that.
Well, the main thing that was in my mind, I was going to swing at the first pitch, and they've been getting ahead of me with the first pitch and then coming back and not really giving me anything to hit. So I had first pitch on my mind, and he threw a ball, and then I just went back to my old style, just see the ball and hit it, and I've got to regroup after that, because I get so keyed up to swing at the first pitch that it takes me a couple pitches to settle down.
Wade, we've seen you all year, and this is our last question as we run out of time. How come the beard's gone?
I really don't know. It was one of those spur-of-the-moment things. I didn't grow it for a superstition. I grew it for my wife, and I just didn't shave it off for a superstition, and I've been hitting well without it, so maybe I'll keep it off.
Aha, that superstition rears its head then at the very end. Huh?
It reared its head.
Well, congratulations. You appear to have the Sox in high gear against the A's, and we'll be watching your progress in that American League East.
Thanks, Vin. Thanks, Joe.
Okay, Wade.
Well, friends, the executive producer of NBC Sports is Michael Weissman. The coordinating producer for NBC Baseball, Harry Coyle. The telecast of today's Game of the Week, produced by Ricky Diamond, directed by Andy Rosenberg, and the pregame produced by Les Dennis. It was a dandy, wasn't it?
It was. It started out like it was going to be a 43-13 like we showed on the scoreboard, but it was different.
Well, it'll be different next week. We'll be in Anaheim to see the New York Yankees and the resurgent California Angels. Others will see the Cubs and the Braves, and it'll start at 3 p.m. Eastern Time with Marv Albert in the pregame next Saturday right here on NBC Sports. And now for Joe Garagiola, this is Vin Scully saying so long from Fenway Park, where the Red Sox beat Oakland 7-5.